We are here at the start of another fantastic collegiate season here in 2025. It is the fall 2025-2026 season for League of Legends, and I could not be more than excited to open things up here on the desk, and hopefully we have an amazing game. My name is Orbital. With me is the best minion to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster, and we will be your casters for the upcoming series between two teams who may or may not be a little bit new, but my god, do they have some experience underneath them. RMC, are you ready?
Honestly, overall, I don't know, but I am hyped for sure for this particular matchup. You know what? I'm going to lay some of your concerns to rest right from the get-go.
Okay.
This is going to be a banger. And we've got Cumberland University up against Converse University. This is a Division 1 game, so top of the table right from the get-go. And while Cumberland might be new to the league scene, they have been a staple in other game titles, and them moving into League of Legends is a very thought out move. They've got their roster ready to go. You know, their roster is filled with a mix of upcoming talent and veterans. They did really good scouting to build their team. And up against Converse, now that's a mainstay here in the League of Legends teams. They're a university who's always been, you know, up at that top echelon, always kind of competing to get into that C-Law spot. So that's going to be a really good start to this season between up-and-comers and sort of old vets.
And that's kind of the fun part about it all. They get to face off in yet another series. And when I say that, it means that the teams have actively, within the last few months, the start of the collegiate season, they have played so many times against each other already, whether in certain variations or not. You can go ahead and see the rosters down below. For Converse University, we got Not Good Enough, Broad Coma, Duckman, Hope, as well as Scooter. And then for Cumberland, we got Fiji, Hot Dog, Retrozing, Suki, and Heaven's Grace. And URMC, you were talking about some of those members coming in here. These are teams that have, players that have actively shown skill already within the collegiate space or the AM scene, and specifically some members on Cumberland have already proven themselves across the board with some of the amateur teams that so far in their head-to-head matchups of 5 series, yes, you heard that right, 5 series that these teams have played actively against each other, Cumberland have won 3 out of the 5.
Yeah, and of course, some of those series, they're not all equally weighted. Some of them were best of 3s, others were best of 1s, like the placement match between these two teams. They actually played against each other in the placement matches, where Converse pulled out the win, and that's the most recent game they've played. But it's worth noting, I believe Cumberland actually didn't have their starting roster. Retrozing was actively playing in the NECL qualifiers or promotion series, pardon me, at that point in time. So congrats to him for getting promoted into the NACL as well, outside of Cumberland University. But let's talk a little bit about the players coming in, right? Because for Cumberland, Fiji and Retrozing are players coming in from sort of the tier 3, tier 2 space. They are very mechanically good players, but not as much experience in C-Law. Whereas you get players like Suki, Heaven's Grace, who have been around for a while. Suki playing for SNHU in the past, and Heaven's Grace, formerly from Bethany Lutheran. And Heaven's Grace has actually played in C-Law Top 32 multiple times at this point. Hot Dog 63, he's a winner in other titles like Fortnite, Valorant, Dota 2 coming in. So he's basically a pro or semi-pro at this point, and that's the kind of balance they have. Whereas you look over at Converse, we've seen Broad Coma, Duckman, Hope, Scooter. Actually, maybe not Hope, but Duckman, Scooter, we've seen them on other Converse teams in the past. Hope is a bit of a newer name to me, but he is a challenger player who I've seen in solo queue playing with, you know, LTA level talent in the past. And we do have word that he did play for Converse last year as well. I don't think we got the honor of watching or casting his games Orbital, but I'm excited. And in the top lane, Not Good Enough. That's a fake name because evidently he's good enough if he's in that top side right now. Grandmaster's level player. And he is somebody who has been challenging Fiji a lot, especially when Fiji likes his sort of neutralizing lanes. Not good enough simply just pick skillers and just goes carry mode in that top side.
Which is why we're actually taking a look at the draft here for game number 1. We go ahead and get Converse over there on that red side, and then Cumberland over there in that blue, starting things off in a little bit of a slow pace, but that's why we see the Syndra, the Wukong, the okay, the poor Smolder that gets banned away as well, but these are bans that we see in the regular meta current status. However, an opening of the mid lane already granting a lot of pressure over to Retrozing as well as Duckman, both of them saying, hey, we want to get comfortable picks to start out. The Hui, though, is a little bit surprising to me, but it's a nice one. Paired with the Nocturne, though, a lot of power and input come the mid to late game for CVU.
And a lot of range that could come through. Nocturne might be a melee champion, but his ultimate allows him to engage from incredible range. It's also a good takeaway from the Orianna, and Retrozing is known as a traditional mage player. The fact that he's willing to blind it, there's not a lot of terrible matchups for Orianna. Hui is probably one of the better ones, just because he outranges her for the most part. But he is very immobile, and that's where the concern comes in and why we're seeing things like the J4 being picked, which can force the engages. Hui will struggle to run away from that. And okay, Cumberland's opting for a very sort of traditional team fight front to back. Jinx newly buffed on the patch. Gonna be honest, I don't think she needed it, but she got it. And her laning phase is so much safer now. I'm curious if what Converse are going to opt for to try and punish the Jinx early, because trying to match her late feels like a futile task for the most part.
And maybe that's why they are going for the Nico. Nico, a very springy support player, support champion. Now, ever since it shifted from the mid lane, it's very frustrating to see that, because I did like when Nico was mid a lot of the time, but has been that very nice game-changing support if you're able to allocate some time down there. You pair it with some good surprise ganks in the early game, and all of a sudden things go your way. However, looking at the safety value, I like the idea of taking away some of the utility supports out there. You ban away the Zillion, you don't allow it to go over to play safe with that Jinx. You start angling that Jinx more towards an aggressive side, maybe a Nautilus, maybe looking at, we've seen Thresh rise here and there, but again, still focused on that utility, saying we don't want to give the Jinx any extra output come that late game.
Fair enough. And I still think, generally speaking, with the Jinx rather than Engage, especially when you've got the J4, I'd much rather see an Enchanter, or if you are going something tankier, Braum would be perfectly fine. For the Nico pick, though, it's interesting that you mentioned mid lane overall, because Scooter used to be the mid laner for Converse Gold. So it fits in his champion pool, I guess, in the mid lane, transitioning into the support role. But you do want to pair with something aggressive that can take advantage of the engages. Ezreal, a very sort of safe, independent AD carry. So it feels like Converse continues to want to play at range, away from Cumberland, away from the engage of J4 and Orianna. But I'm still not seeing anything that can threaten that Jinx so far.
Well, not only that, now you actually look at the Jinx and say, well, there's even more coverage. In my opinion, normally we see the Karma and the Ezreal together, which is a very harassing bot lane.
Yep.
But instead, you take that Karma away, you put it on the Jinx, and now that poke that comes out of the Ezreal is kind of nullified, and then you pair it with a straight-up meta top side, which this is just an OG team fight, bowl you down mid to late game here for the side of Cumberland. This is as strong as a team comp as you wish. And for CVU, you're going, what's at the bottom of the barrel here? I mean, an Aatrox is nice, it's good for a team fight, but my god, you look at an Ori, a J4, a Jinx, a Karma, and Ornn, you hate this game so much.
A little bit, especially if you are Broad Coma in the jungle. And it's worth noting, we talked about the fact that Scooter has role swapped from mid to support. Well, Broad Coma is swapping from AD carry to jungle, and now he's playing as Nocturne, the only real threat to the Jinx, and kind of, unless he gets ahead, not really enough of a threat to take out the Jinx. Not into an Orianna, not into a Karma, where there's so much shielding that can negate the initial burst, and he kind of needs a dive buddy, and then you're looking at not good enough with the Aatrox to be that dive buddy, and frankly, maybe the pick isn't good enough. Like, it's great for team fighting. It does well into the Ornn. It's a great individual pick, but trying to dive with the Aatrox gets a little bit complicated. He doesn't have great flank angles for the most part. Maybe if we get a Chemtac map with the enhanced blast cones, he can find ways in the back line. But other than that, he kind of has to go in through the front door. And against the Orianna, against the Ornn, heck, even against Karma Tethers, if he gets rooted on the way in, he's just going to get melted by the Jinx first.
And that's what terrifies me, honestly. Cumberland have built an amazing Game 1 composition here, and an amazing one to open up the season for the NECC League of Legends side. Now, of course, if you are tuning in, you may not just be a fan of League of Legends, because you are probably a fan of all the esports that we are currently running. We've got Marvel Rivals, Overwatch 2, I believe we even had CS2 running as well. It's been an amazing time, so we have to give a big shout out to those who make this possible. Wenzel's, Meat 6, which you saw an ad running earlier, Bye Bye Blue Light, as well as Extron. Thank you so much to those that have made it possible to bring you all of the amazing esports across the way. Now, taking a look, getting back into this game as that quick little detour sidetracks us, where do we actually see CVU getting an advantage? Because it is difficult, but there has to be a way for them to get into this game, find victory. I know it's probably in the early game, like that's the only way you're going to deal with this comp. Where is the early game going to go for them if it is considered a good early game for CVU?
Well, it kind of goes back to a little bit of what we mentioned with the favorable lane matchups, right? Aatrox can play well into the Ornn. The early laning can be a little bit tough. Ornn is, after all, the assassin, tank, mage, bruiser. He kind of just does everything and anything. So early game, he'll be strong into the Aatrox, but as the game continues to scale up, Aatrox will be able to handle the 1v1 comfortably. The mid lane, as you mentioned, Hui can outrange the Orianna, so there's an advantage there as well. The bot lane is going to be a bit of the interesting one because they buffed specifically Jinx's range on her rockets early levels, and they also kind of buffed the damage of her traps, which isn't that significant. So you can still see the Nico Ezreal take over, and that's what we're seeing with Hope pressuring up onto Suki right away. And this is a straight AD carry combat. Support saw each other near mid lane.
Of course, you're talking about the ADCs, but we also know some other attack damage carries can come out here. The junglers deciding that they're getting a little bit messy, and you mentioned the fact that for Broad Coma, you're saying, okay, this is going to be that main moment of how is that transition going to affect the rest of this game. So, getting into this lead, already some tensions brewing. But for Hope and Hope 2, as I like to call them, no, that is a Nico in clone form, they're going to try and bully out the Jinx and the Karma very early on. I like that start.
Yeah, and maybe, hey, as you said, if Converse can find early leads in all their lanes, buy enough time for Broadcom to hit level 6. This is a comp that can very quickly snowball. And we talked about if Broadcom gets ahead, then maybe he can be that solo threat onto Suki. And if he does take out Suki, Cumberland's composition is not exactly a single threat composition, but a lot of it does weigh on that Jinx. If she goes down, the teamfights get a lot tougher, and then you're begging for a perfect shockwave, or else Converse should be able to just grind through these teamfights if there isn't a Jinx threatening them.
They're hoping to play for early on. Level 2 being hit here on the bot side as it's Cumberland Phoenix once again. Level 2's on either end of these duo lanes. On the top side, we're seeing a dance of the level 2s, possibly into the level 3s in a little bit, but for Fiji, not good enough. These two, I mean, it's an Aatrox versus an Ornn. Fiji is not exactly going to enjoy these early levels, but later on, going to say no big deal as long as they don't int, as long as they don't feed, which, again, as we mentioned for Cumberland, is that right call. This is a squad that once again has shown that they can beat CVU multiple times, with CVU coming in here saying, hey, I got the right squad this time. It's all about that mix and match across the board. Who has the better hand of players?
Yeah, because I believe that the placement matches, Cumberland didn't have RetroZing with them. Trades coming down. I don't think there's any kill. Yep, they should be fine. Fiji's just trading back there. But they met in there was a Concord Passion Series LAN recently, and they actually met 3 different series in that one tournament. But from what I could tell from their games, it looks like Hope wasn't playing for Converse at that time. And Hope is actually the highest ranked player on this team, challenger player, AD carry especially being such an important role in the current very teamfight heavy centric meta. It felt like Converse didn't have their full strength either. So this might be the first time in recent, I don't know what happened in their NECC game, whether or not they had both their starting rosters, but yeah, this should be a spicy one where both teams feel like they're coming in at full strength.
And that's always a great way to start off the season because, again, here in Div 1, you want to start off on the right foot, which is why we're seeing the first engagement after the full clears going over one way or another. I believe that was Hot Dog to actually gather up that very nice little river piece. And they hang on to a little bit more as the scuttle goes their way. A push out as well as Cumberland Phoenix is looking for even more. Hot Dog getting a little bit extra. And the help from RetroZing brings first blood. CVU run out of their own jungle.
Yeah, RetroZing getting the assist with the speed up onto Hot Dog and the shield as well. Bot side, the pressure they got in could be significant because Heaven's Grace is getting free poke now. And when a Karma gets set up in this aggressive stance, that's when she really starts to take over. Prior to that, the Hope 1 and Hope 2 were doing a great job pushing out, but not anymore. And it's getting a little bit scary for Converse when they should have had the early laning leads.
Yeah, Heaven's Grace, aka Mental from back in the day. You know him back from the 2022 and 2024 in the circuit, showing that they still got a lot to play with and a lot of strength as they get their bully status in. And for Cumberland Phoenix, we mentioned before that for them, they already kind of had that mid to late game lockdown. It's great that they got this early start. That was not only for the jungler specifically. You know, Hot Dog gets out to a kill. Now you race up to that level 6. You have that Cataclysm. But the entire team felt like they were already making moves together. Already showing the macro style coming into play early on.
Yeah, and you love to see that with the J4. That's sort of one of the early game junglers who can get some very effective ganks off. And Hot Dog didn't go for a conventional gank. He just went up for a straight up invade. I'd like to see him now with that lead also try and get some ganks off into the lanes, especially when you mentioned how responsive the lanes are. It would be beautiful for them to be able to leverage that. And we've seen so many trades too on both side lanes. I feel like Fiji and not good enough. It's not a wet noodle fight by any means. Like, they're actually actively trading, and we come up here, they just got back to lane overall, and they're already down like a third of their respective health bars.
Yeah, they're willing to duke it out, which I also appreciate. Not good enough, willing to do. You're already sitting at a little bit higher CS number, so you're hitting that level 6. Maybe you're looking for a secondary engagement, get a little extra pick, and then pop into that Ascension and get that kill threat early on in an Ornn when you know that's about the only time you can do so. But I do appreciate the fact that you were calling that out. Fiji and not good enough, already burning the TPs as well, meaning that we might not see a clean lane swap depending on Suki, Heaven's Grace, and Hope as well as Scooter. For Broadcoma though, the junglers have now met down on the bottom side one more time. Hot Dog running across the pink ward, so it's very, very obvious Broadcoma stepping up a little bit further than maybe you thought, but that's such a great catch. Of course it's gonna be a run out as Broadcoma says no deal, and Scooter picks up the kill. A great surprise counter gank coming out from CVU.
Yeah, and even with the counter gank in the wings, it was kind of a close run thing. It was a great flash from Hope to avoid the knockup. If he got tagged by the knockup, they die anyways, because Cumberland knew that they were stronger in the early games and in the right from the get-go. Duckman has to flash again to avoid the flag and drags. Hot Dog really burning a lot of summoners, but unfortunately, he has to come back in the next 5 minutes to get the payoff in this bot and mid lane.
Such a treat and a half right now, as even though the bot lane didn't really go their way, I like to see that aggression. Not good enough though. Keeping track of where Hot Dog is here in the early state. As we go ahead and rotate back down to the bot side, as it has been a consistent factor where the ADCs seem to have less health than the supports, even though Heaven's Grace and Scooter are actively so frontline combative. I don't know how weird that is, but that's what it feels like. Because right now, Suki running out of mana, looking for a couple auto attacks, and you know that's all it is, but you might get a little bit more. As Scooter is so low, Suki not level 6 and out of mana. You know Zap comes through, but for Cumberland Phoenix, the Jinx and the Karma starting to get a little bit more headway down here.
I think Scooter just got back to the lane, and that's as Heaven's Grace, which is why they were both kind of full health, and Scooter forced back immediately. However, it's important for Converse that they didn't die, and they didn't have to blow any extra summoners as well, because they're just going to reset after this anyways. And for Suki and Heaven's Grace, they're resetting too. Actually, they're going for a full-on lane swap, and from Converse's positioning, I don't think they were expecting or aware of this particular lane swap. Because Dragon wasn't taken early either, we could just very well see a handshake where Converse gets Dragon, Cumberland gets Grubs.
And honestly, you can see a little bit of that momentum shift for Cumberland Phoenix. They go, okay, we're good up here. We surprised our opponent, CVU, going, okay, what's the adjustment? Scooter now roaming into that mid lane, helping out Duckman. But Hot Dog, as we mentioned, immediately going for those grubs. Now, it is on top of a ward, which has been placed a while ago. So this is identified. For CVU, though, normally you would see an answer of a dragon being taken so you don't get mismatched in that pattern. The fact that there isn't really a response and Broadcoma is actively saying, hey, look, I just want to hit that level 6. I really want to make sure I have that paranoia available. Well, now you can go for the dragon. It's no big deal, but it's a very nice pickup, very clean by Hot Dog and the rest of Cumberland Phoenix.
Yeah, and for a second, it looked like we saw Scooter kind of waiting in the back, seeing if he could maybe snipe something away. But good smite away from Hot Dog. They don't want to kind of give that away. Unfortunately, it also looks like we've hit some sort of snag. I don't know if it's a pause in game or something, but the game kind of has frozen up. So we come back to the casters for a bit. And, oh, okay, looks like the pause is back over. We're in. Okay, so this was the thing that we kind of had to question a little bit was Broadcoma didn't immediately go for the dragon. And because of that, you can see Hot Dog's actually kind of now in the area. He actually even used the early smite to try and melt it down, but he might just lose it altogether.
I mean, they're hunting, and I think Hot Dog is more than willing to try and chase this out, but now with Scooter in the wings is a little bit more difficult to play for. Smite just coming off a cooldown. It is going to be gathered by Broadcoma, but still, the fact that there is even an inkling of a steal opportunity is something that we do have to be worried about, going back to, as you just called it, that slow pace to get on the dragon here. We are watching the mid lane now as Retrozing and Duckman are fighting it out a little bit. Duckman chasing Retrozing into the top side Tribrush. I don't know if Duckman wants to fully continue this, as now they go for the paranoia,
yeah,
now they're calling it out, and that's the appropriate response. I was wondering when the rest of the team was going to join on in, or Duckman was going to lose more HP, but that is the kill that you wanted, so CVU up to 1 in the kill count.
Okay, a lot just happened there, Orbital. And if anything, I was actually questioning Retrozing for not using the Blast Cone to get out to safety early. Felt like he was winning that 1v1 trade, and he was. He was crushing the trades against Duckman. But it's not a 1v1 situation. This is a 5v5 game, and Broadcoma with the Nocturne, level 7 now, has the paranoia able to go in. Suki?
Ooh, what a flash underneath Scooter! The tower, and the flash to follow Scooter was a little bit too slow. So Suki is allowed to live, but my god, what a nice engagement. And you now force a TP from Fiji because those grubs are gone. Two-shot barrage, going a little bit wayside, no big deal either way. But explosiveness, not just in the takes, but also in the fights.
Boo, okay. The rocket being launched by Suki from base as well. I was wondering if we'd see the sort of cheeky rocket from fountain to fountain, assuming the recall. Because you can't actually kill somebody at fountain with the Super Mega Death Rocket while they're still regenerating when they're low on health. But no, far in the top lane, Scooter able to get away. But Converse, really aggressive attack with the Nico Aatrox combo, and you got that possibility when you got enough damage. I was actually expecting to see Fiji and Hot Dog maybe try and pull the same thing on to open that bot lane using the Call of the Forge God, but it never came through. And we didn't even see that combo come through for the Dragon because Hot Dog didn't have Smite available. Now, lanes have reset, and honestly, I think Converse did a great job. They didn't lose out from the trades whatsoever. Not good enough, wasn't zoned out, still got his CS, and meanwhile, Hope, he's fine too. Ooh. He didn't fall behind whatsoever.
Well, yeah, Hope didn't fall behind, but Suki immediately got chomped on here with the Pop Blossom, and that is brutal to see because you talked about that focus on CVU. We're seeing it on repeat now. Actually, really, really like. You're trying to put that Jinx behind, which you quite literally mentioned. It's a one-track mind for Cumberland. That is their main focus, so the more you try and put Suki behind, the better. The problem being is you're only setting him behind maybe a wave, maybe some XP behind there. This is now the third time I think Suki has had a recall with almost little to no CS in their pocket to gather back. Fiji are not good enough as well. This is still that wet noodle fight that has been filled with cement. Both of them still low.
Yeah, first items are about to come through though, and we're already seeing not good enough start actually winning out pretty comprehensively on this top side. Once he gets first item especially, I do think bigger threat. Paranoia comes down.
Oh, and it's such an easy catch. Fear upon fear plus the roots. It's a clean catch onto RetroZing, and RetroZing had nowhere to go.
And RetroZing not unfortunately having a good game right now. His 1v1 laning, again, has been fine. Again, he's up CS, but Hot Dog has not given any love to his mid laner, whereas Broadcoma is more than happy to keep revisiting this Orianna who's pushing out because she's in control, because she's winning the lane. She's overextending, and RetroZing used his flash last time, didn't have it this time to escape.
And it's the right call as well. Whenever you see a Nocturne, we always talk about the fact that we want to see those ults pretty much off of cooldown. We want to see the Paranoia used continuously and always getting some form of value. And so far, I think in the 3 ultimates that we've seen, it's yielded results so far. It's yielded a kill, it's yielded pressure around the map, and it's always been there to kind of counter. And that's actually Cumberland Phoenix, who are starting to fall behind a little bit in that pacing. Now, the only difference is Hot Dog sitting about a camp up, looking to hit that 1200 smite ASAP. As soon as you pick that up, then you can start contesting even further in. But at the current pace, you're still just a little bit ahead of Broadcoma.
Yeah, one camp ahead from Broadcoma.
Yeah. Not that big a deal, but I thought it was fun because, I don't know.
Hey, it has mattered in the past, right? It depends on how many camps you have left to clear, what objectives are coming up. We do have Dragon coming up not too long from now, it looks like. So that might be something that both teams might look to contest over. And frankly, I think Converse, they're right on schedule. Their initial laning looked a little bit worrisome when they weren't getting leads and they were actually falling behind. But they wanted to be up about 2,000 gold at about 15 minutes. So they're pretty much on track, and they should be stronger for this initial fight. Whereas for Cumberland, RetroZing did go for the Luden's companion, so that's good for the early fights. But Suki, yeah, the Jinx needs 2-3 items at least.
That's what you're maybe hoping will be gathered here at the Dragon fight. Everyone recalling, trying to spend their gold, about 4 to 5k between a majority share of the members on Cumberland Phoenix. But CVU cresting that 5k mark on 2 members. One of those members is on the top side, so might not be able to join right away. Keep eyes on those TPs. Fiji should be up in time for the Dragon battle. The 5v4 matters, so not good enough. Will be running interference at the end of the day. But for CVU, it looks like they got a clear Dragon of sorts at the current moment, as yes, it was on a Scryer's ward, but it's currently a 4-man battle. I love the little minion, by the way, on the offside. That is Scooter waiting for a chance with the Pop Blossom, and you are going to look for it. As that gets to the back line, you immediately find out Suki. It is sweated away, though, on the far end. Hot Dog gets the Dragon, so it's a trade of damage, and then the rest of CVU say, all right, you take the Dragon, but we take 2 kills in turn. A wild exchange around the board as Dragon goes one way and kills go the other.
Yeah, I think Converse is going to be the happier of the two with that trade. It's only second Drake, first of the game for the side of Cumberland, and you get the 2 kills. You accelerate your gold lead. You go from 2K to 3K advantage for the side of Converse. On top of that, Orbital, the people who are getting the kills, they're finally getting it onto Hope 1 and Scooter on the bottom of the map. Because prior to this, a lot of their gold lead was in Duckman. Not good enough, which is great. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting those solo laners to be the gold advantage for Converse. But you really want it on Hope 1, who's sort of the hyper-mechanical AD carry. You know, he's going to be the guy who's carrying a lot of the later team fights. So getting the gold lead now spread across the entirety of the team is absolutely massive for Converse.
It just pushes them a little bit faster into this mid game. Yes, we don't have first tower down, but we are at that point where lane swaps are pretty much standard. We're going to see the tower swap a little bit later, maybe in a minute or two, depending on which lane is available. But we are at the point where death timers are going to be a little bit more extended than you're probably used to. These fights are going to be a little bit more heavy-handed. For Fiji, trying to craft off a little bit of a ward. Scooter just being an annoyance factor at the end of the day. Poor Fiji wasn't able to, I don't think was able to craft. I don't.
He can do it now.
Nope.
He wasn't.
Oh, yeah. You can now, but it's still like, dang, really? You did it on like the last second of my passive. That's just rude.
Good play from Scooter. He's maximizing the delays.
No, don't
and
call
now
it a
Fiji...
good play. Let the Ornn do the Ornn thing. Ornn only has like a few things to do there. You want to be able to hang on to your build the items mini game. Yeah, Hope, of course, hoping for a little bit of hope here. So that's going to be an arcane shift into the flash to get away, but now you're out of getaways. So Hot Dog says it's free. Cataclysm on top is the most over-the-top kill that I've seen. Ornn plus Cataclysm.
He's just dunking for style at that point. Hot Dog now walking away. That's going to leave Fiji really far up the lane. He does have flash available, but the lights are turned off.
And I like it because it's a two-piece play. You turn off the lights and you actually hide the movement coming in from Scooter as well as Duckman. And Fiji is left up a creek with no paddle. Now, granted, you are extremely tanky, so you are going to be able to walk away. Duckman and Scooter have to answer back in the mid lane, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But CVU said, okay, you played on our top side of the map. We played on your bottom side and actually got tower for it, so thank you very much. Of course, Herald went one way, but the tower answered back, so a collision of excitement across the entirety of the Rift.
I do believe that was first pick going down to Converse, so they will get themselves the feats of strength between the feats of turret taking as well as the feats of warfare. So advantage Converse with that. But for the side of Cumberland, they managed to get Herald while that was going on. Broad Coma, is he finally caught?
He might be. Spell Shield ain't gonna hold you down, but a good flash away will only seal the deal, and Hot Dog picks it up for a shutdown. Broad Coma went a little bit too far.
Did he smite to kill Broad Coma?
I thought so, and I really hope not, because that's just BM jungler to jungler.
Hey, that's the ultimate, yeah. But we love to see a little bit of friendly BM there, smiting Broadcoma like another jungle camp. Unfortunate for Broadcoma, I think Broadcoma has been doing a fantastic job getting a ton of pressure on the map. And let's not forget, Broadcoma is role swapping for Converse. And it feels like Converse traditionally has issues trying to get junglers. So they've had a lot of role swap players. And Broadcoma, frankly, if you told me he was just a regular jungler, 100%, I believe you. Cumberland, though, I think they're going to be quite happy with how everything kind of went out. They've shrunk the gold lead, actually, to 1.5 thousand gold, and they still have Herald. So that's pretty much another guaranteed turret in pocket, as long as they choose to use it, and or a dragon, if they're using Herald to kind of distract and set up for a dragon play. The scaling is going to keep coming through, too. Suki is going to be hitting 2 items soon enough, and while RetroZing has been camped, has died 3 times now, all to Broad Coma, he's actually not that far behind in terms of power curve. He's okay. I don't know how I feel about Double Fiendish Codex. I'm going to wait for that to build first before I say anything more about it. But technically, gold-wise, he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, and especially in this composition, you literally pointed it out earlier. Suki is the main kind of spotlight here in this composition. Whenever you see this comp roll out, it is the Jinx show. And so for an Orianna, it's not terrible if you're behind a Might. Now, it is looking like a Horizon-focused build here for RetroZing, so you are going to have that amp behind it to kick off the team fight. But it's not going to be the end of the world if you're not there yet. The main thing is we just need RetroZing to stay alive. That's what I'm really hoping for. We got to see RetroZing stay alive for the team fights. That might be coming in just about 10 seconds around that dragon, that third dragon of the game, and an Ocean Soul to boot.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say this, RetroZing. I don't think him staying alive really matters in the team fights that much.
Well,
if he
okay,
gets a
long enough to
shockwave
press
off,
R. Yeah,
sure,
long enough to press R.
Yeah, if he gets a good shockwave off, that's his job done. Really, it's more about keeping Suki alive, and Suki now with Kraken Slayer completed, this is when Jinx starts to be, you know, a little bit more useful. I hesitate to say that she's going to be able to match a 2-item power spike of an Ezreal, but Hope 1 hasn't hit his 2-item power spike. He doesn't have Mirror Mana yet. So right now, Cumberland would actually be stronger if it came down to a fight, and Dragon Hatch just spawned. Converse should not be looking to match that.
Nope. And it's the right call as well. You try and clear out this
they didn't
Herald.
finish Shelly.
It is going to get a charge, so hey, double up on the extra value. However, the fight afterwards, that's going to be the pop blossom into the flash forward. Okay. You catch 2 and annihilate 1. Down goes Suki. Down goes Hot Dog, chomped up and eaten. Not good enough. Getting a shockwave into the wall, but the rest of the team is falling. And this is Cumberland Phoenix going to try and rise from the ashes later.
Atacon on the table, pings immediately coming down from Converse. They know they've got a window to make this play, Orbital, and that window should not have existed. Cumberland, Fiji, kind of caught with his pants down, was going home, did not have the teleport ready to go, and because of that, Converse managed to get a beautiful 5-man collapse. Sure, Cumberland get the dragon, but Converse get the kills, and can they get the Atacon? Like, they aren't fast enough right now to get there and actually start it up. They could set up Vision and try and set up a trap there, perhaps.
I'm just wondering, I mean, CVU have been so content in filing through on this consistent, well, lose the objective, win the battle, and gain gold from that. But I do understand the call. Hey, ping out the Otacon. If we can go for it, try it. But at this current moment, it's denying Hot Dog any sort of camps, denying some extra pieces to that pie. But it has led to the fact that CVU have to go back to the drawing board, and they're recognizing that, again, time is not exactly on their side. They're buying seconds, maybe a few minutes, but they need to get very proactive on the map very, very soon. And once that 25, 27 minutes hits, you're not going to enjoy what Cumberland Phoenix are going to pack.
I guess that's why I'm surprised they didn't go for the Atacon. Because if you know
that's fair.
Yeah, if you know that time is valuable, and you know that Cumberland continues to scale, is going to continue being an issue, I really would have thought that would be the focus. But it's fine for now. Again, they are far ahead enough, and we spoke about Broadcoma earlier, you know, like, and how much impact he was having. He's got 100% KP right now, and more importantly, because he's got that much gold in his pocket from all those assists, he continues to be a solo dive threat against Suki that's working. And we've seen Suki get melted down at the beginning of each and every single fight. The team's not been able to peel for him sufficiently, not against Scooter, not against Broadcomber diving in. And until we see that happen, Converse are probably still in a very, very comfortable spot.
I think they're going to be real happy about it until they feel that weight against them. So at the current moment, they are kind of jostling for position. As you mentioned before, the Otacon has been that call down. But this is now Hope getting caught out in a weird spot. But it's not Hope, that is actually Scooter. Either way, it's a squishy down. And Cumberland Phoenix say thank you very much. That is going to be a wake-up call, though. Cumberland Phoenix taking one. No,
Broadcoma,
not like this. Not like this. You have flash available. True Shot Barrage goes wide. You do dodge out from the rest of the team is coming around the corner. Suki is going to be annihilated here. Pop goes that Weasel. But of course, down goes Hope as well. So it's a trade of ADC for ADC, but an overall 1 for 2 in favor of Cumberland as Scooter just revived.
Well, all this is happening, though, Not Good Enough is still pushing in the bot lane. Unfortunately for Not Good Enough, he's actually answering a turret trade right now. The minions for Cumberland just took the mid-inner turret. So, yeah, kind of an equal trade coming through. I think Cumberland winning out the war in the jungle and with a small advantage. And for Converse, that's really bad news. Unfortunately for them, losing Scooter might actually be worse than losing Hope at this moment in time, because it is Scooter who usually initiates for them. And we've seen between Scooter and Broadcoma, they take out Suki, and then Not Good Enough can carry the fight. They don't need the AD carry that much compared to needing to take out Suki, the opposing AD carry.
It's so weird to hear that, you know, a support has more weight than an ADC, but it's true. It is very, very true. I like the fact that that has also been seen by Scooter themselves. They've had really good pop blossoms so far. The dragon fight specifically, the whole reason that those dragons have gone so... Poor Fiji. I think Fiji got denied again, by the way. That's pretty funny. Retrozing, though, trying to get underneath the tower, but that's a flash forward and Not Good Enough saying, are you sure? Are you sure? Still has the ult available, by the way, as Heaven's Grace and Hot Dog are coming into this battle, which I don't know if you actually want to fight. And I like that call. Hot Dog is like, all right, that was a good tag. I don't want to do that. But Suki's about to get chunked out as Hope. Swings hard, and Pandora's box holds only one piece, and that is Hope. Well done on that battle, which now opens up space for CVU to try and start on the Otacon. But Hope ready with the support on the backline as we swap back to the jungle fight. Down goes Heaven's Grace. You are put into a mortal realm. Cataclysm will do work, but Hope kites it out so well. But of course, the damage is all that's there. Scooter with the flash proto belt takes a kill back. CVU are running this show in what can only be described as guerrilla warfare gone right. Fiji with the last second ult into the kill on top of Duckman. And it's still CVU to come out with a delayed ace across the map.
Fiji, in a 1v3 situation, pulls out 2 kills. But Orbital, the bigger picture, that entire fight was kind of a 3v5 from Converse. They were doing Otacon at the same time and started off with the picks onto RetroZing. The solo from Not Good Enough. And then you've got Hope 1 finding the solo kill onto Suki. Converse just individually outplaying, and it's absolutely huge. We talk so much about the composition from Cumberland, how they've got such an amazing front-to-back team fight. Well, Converse found the answer. Just don't team fight. We'll kill them individually. They don't have time to get together. We don't care how fed a Jinx is. We don't care how many items a Jinx has if she has no peel.
And honestly, that's horrifying to think about because it wasn't even Not Good Enough soloing out Suki. It wasn't Broad Coma doing that. It was Hope literally walking down this team fight, walking down Suki in a 1v1. That, I think, spells a lot more dangers in the bank than anything else. I mean, Suki might not be respecting that power output. Now, of course, at this point, probably is saying, okay, I can't deal with that ADC. But you have to be careful because, as you mentioned, CVU aren't team fighting. If we see a team fight come down, it's going to be horrifying, which is why we see Suki and Heaven's Grace being like, we don't want to stay by. A literal 2 HP turret, not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole.
And now for Cumberland, we're looking at Fiji and Hot Dog. Hot Dog's been doing a good job moving around, and we talked about 100% KP for Broad Coma. Hot Dog's had 100% KP as well. It's just that he's not been able to generate as much positive action for the team because his laners are getting picked. And now we're looking at Fiji to be the primary engage for the team because we see that Fiji is tanky enough. He can live long enough to actually engage, get his body in there, and create space, but he does need to pull the trigger first. And so far, it's been Converse repeatedly being the ones first to the play, first to the action.
And first to get those kills as well. We are now on top of that 2 times as many kills. We're looking at a 5k lead that has been slowly accruing over time. So CVU, what we talked about, that 27-29 minute mark has now expanded on to maybe like a 33 minute mark before they actually have to be worried. Suki is still waiting for a bulk set, still sitting only on those 2 items. Yes, the upgraded Yuntal Wild Arrows, but really not much else to play for. Main thing for Cumberland, though, they are looking to the top side of the map. With 27-28 minutes into the game, they are looking at that Baron triple wardage around this top side of the map.
Yeah, and for Cumberland, it's really good that they did manage to get those 2 dragons early, because that's slowing the game down a little bit. But if Converse get the Baron, or can force a wipe at the Baron, they could look to very quickly just snowball the game completely out of control. Scooter using the clone to kind of just block any zap that comes through, able to get away for now. And Converse, they're starting to set up for Baron, though Cumberland right now still have vision over it.
And that was actually kind of scary. So I don't know if you noticed, but on the mini-map, Not Good Enough was actually in a flank position on the lower side of the jungle. So it's also Converse almost baiting in a fight. They're saying, okay, this is the time that Cumberland Phoenix are supposed to group up. They're supposed to be heading around as a group. And for that reason, if we get a flank out from Katsuki, that's great. Fiji, thankfully, blind checks into your bot side jungle, forces Not Good Enough away. I think for Cumberland, you're saying, oh, that actually could have happened. That could have been real dangerous. But of course, because of that relinquishing, CVU now going to chase up to the top side of that jungle river and look to clear out vision and place their own as well.
And frankly, that's kind of why I was less worried about Not Good Enough trying to find the flank position. It kind of goes down to losing that inner mid turret from Converse earlier when they went for the bot side inner turret. The minions are already still streaming out from the side of Cumberland, so trying to get that flank angle from Not Good Enough gets a little bit dicey. And Fiji, I think, doing a great job being the one to kind of face check on that lower side where they didn't have vision, had no knowledge. Unfortunately, despite all of that, Converse are just stronger. So Converse are able to get in, clear out the vision around Baron, and now Cumberland don't have that safe top side. If they want to check the Baron, they need Fiji to be the one up front and kind of face checking those bushes, which then maybe there's that small window between waves to allow Not Good Enough to look for flanks.
It would also require a full set of about 5 to move their way over, which is something that I think they're looking for. But now it was just a straight up power dive. And, hey, what was that about a flank? What was that about a flank from not good enough? Hey, that's going to be a dive. Granted, it wasn't really necessary. That's going to be the tower going down as well as Converse are starting to convert these kills. Hot Dog trying to get away, but flees directly into not good enough and into Broad Coma's embrace. You are tanky enough, but not fully as you get zapped underneath the tower. Tower finding away at not good enough's HP bar, but the entirety of CVU take a kill, take a tower, and lose no one.
You know what, Orbital? Forget everything I said about minion waves, about vision. Not good enough doesn't care if he's spotted. He came from behind the turn and they dove it clean. Yep, they're just really, really far ahead. I'm curious if they're actually able to pull that off at Baron instead, or like just kind of brute force their way in jungle. It does feel like they're so incredibly strong. 7,000 gold ahead. That's fair. And I'm kind of curious where the gold exactly is sitting from Converse. Is it an even spread right now? I feel like a lot of it's sitting on Broad Coma. Thanks to our observers for that. Yeah, 3,000 just in the top lane alone. And then Broad Coma's actually not that far ahead anymore. It's now sitting more on the carries of Duckman, of Hope One, who are respectively 2,000k over their counterparts right now.
I think that does come from the power farming that has gone on in the last few minutes as well. We haven't really seen the paranoia be dropped as much. As you mentioned, CVU have been waiting and biding their time. Well, Duckman now is matching in that aggressive pace. We're seeing a lot of that mid to late game damage, and also your 4-1 and 5. We haven't even talked about it. Duckman has done a great job on the way. This R1 way that has lit up the skies or the battleground with a lot of that paint, with a lot of that showy plays, with the Rabadons, with the Leandries, with that Blackfire Torch. It has been destructive, albeit a little bit sneaky when the damage does come out, but it's about to be a lot more obvious as CVU's starting to work together, moving their way towards the top side of the map once again. Wave State in a little bit awkward position, but it's all about trying to find the opponent. Suki stepping up to clear this wave. Two-shot barrage going to clip the side as well as Heaven's Grace. And you can see chunking out a quarter of their HP. That is a level 3 ulti from Hope One.
And unfortunately, Heaven's Grace shield not coming down in time. So Suki eats the damage first, and the shield gets applied after. So CVU, the range advantage we're talking about with the Ezreal, with the Hui, sure, they're not pumping out as much consistent range damage as a Jinx would be able to do at the same range as in a team fight. But in terms of poke right now, like you said, it's doing a ton of work, and Suki can't step up. Every time he's tried so far, he's just been nuked out. Because those 5 deaths, that's not Broad Coma diving him. That's more Scooter walking up. That's more the poke that's coming down from Hope One and Duckman.
Here we go. Dragon started up, though. It's been a little bit of time, but we are on that 5th Drake. Rocket from downtown is not going to land. Broad Coma smites away the Drake, so CVU now on Soul Point. However, you gotta agree, RMC, we're still waiting for that Baron to go down, which feels like CVU had all the time in the world to go for it, and instead they went for the Dragon instead. Now it's gonna be a catch of Fiji with a great flash headbutt in. Says, I am the Alistar of Worlds, but they do catch Duckman. Duckman's still alive for the time being. Thankfully, Hot Dog is still able to take it away. The fact that they're only able to get one is disastrous. Not good enough on the backside of the team fight, though. Doesn't have ult available. He's not going to jump right on in. Doesn't get Suki in the knockup. So now Suki is going to try and free fire. Remember, this is where Cumberland are starting to ramp up in damage, but they don't have enough. So CVU wisely saying, we're going to try and back away. Scooter still aiming up. Shockwave lands a 1, though. And the extended battle is starting to lean into Cumberland's favor. Suki, now amped up and excited, gets yet another kill shutdown to your favor. And Hope One flashing away, trying to run for the light, but you can only run so far. Red buff slowing you down. Suki getting all the speed that's in the world. Another arcane shift underneath the tower. Zapper not going to land, not good enough, going to run interception. But the fact that Cumberland came away with the kill lead is crazy.
It's so disgusting, and this is Jinx gaming overall. This is why I always thought Jinx was busted, and she didn't need the buffs. Because you can be down 7,000 gold, and the moment you get 1 kill, 1 reset, you're absolutely just able to turn the fight, keep running people down, and you're just an absolute menace. And just like that, Suki manages to turn the tides for the team. Finally doesn't go down initially. Now, it's not all on Cumberland. I do think Converse messed up a little bit in terms of looking for that engage. Nobody was really on Suki initially. Suki got to start the fight for free. Scooter's Pop Blossom was used elsewhere. Broad Coma went diving to try and save Duckman onto Hot Dog. Didn't manage to save Duckman either. And then the flank from Not Good Enough just didn't have enough backup because there's nobody else willing to kind of tank to go in and be that meat shield. And that was the concern we had a little bit with Broad Coma, but it applies equally to Not Good Enough, right? Even if you do get the flank angle, if you're the only one in, you're not sufficient as a solo dive threat. Converse still up 7,000 gold. They're still fine. They just need to make sure they don't pull a repeat of that last fight.
Well, the fact that right now we are seeing that dance of Converse saying, look, it might be 3-2 in the series score, but we're about to tie that up yet again. And starting things off strong with this game number 1. Now, we are reaching into the very ends in depth because Cumberland and Phoenix are saying the exact same, hey, look, we had the lead in the series score of the 3-2, but we want this series as well. And we're going to fight to the absolute bitter end. RMC, I'm terrified to say so, but I could feel this going extended all the way 45 minutes if Cumberland and Phoenix say, we just want a 5-item Jinx. Screw it, we want 5 items. We want to wreck shop with a fully stacked Jinx.
Yeah, and given how long it's taken for them to actually take Baron, I'm not terribly surprised. Baron now finally started up by Converse, but you can see they're a little bit worried and they don't have a true tank. Broad Coma turns the lights off, not good enough on the flank.
And not good enough is going to actually get soloed off here, so this might be a chance. Cumberland are going to try
But
and
Suki's
battle
down.
down, but no Converse. Chop right down on the bit. They slaughter Suki in one fell blow. Fiji and Hot Dog trying to run for the absolute hills. But there is no greater danger than CVU overextending. They say, we don't want to get caught, so instead, we look back at Baron.
Really well played from Converse. They learned their lesson from the last fight, and we were just talking about it. Kill Suki. That is the entirety of the game plan. All the Jinx opposition, when she's kind of the main threat in team fights, if you take her out, the game gets so much easier for Converse. And this time, Broad Coma turns off the lights. Such patient play with the paranoia to wait and make sure that he goes on Suki and only Suki. And the moment Suki goes out, despite how well the fight started for Cumberland, they just didn't have the power to finish it. And now with Baron in pocket, this is where Converse, you know, they're looking to push in and finally crack those inhibitor turrets. Before that, they're having kind of issues pushing in. They're a little bit scared about overextending. With Baron, there's no excuse for them to not be able to at least break those out, that last ring, pardon me, of inhibitor turrets.
The fact that we are 36.5 minutes in and CVU still haven't broken those inhibitors almost feels criminal, but they've been playing it very cleanly and very slowly. Of course, for Cumberland, they're starting to recognize that they have a little bit of power behind them. Suki is about level 15, waiting for a little bit extra behind, and this is a deep brush. Great spot out by Duckman. Duckman's like, listen, I've gone duck hunting a few times. I know when someone's waiting in that very, very dark jungle. So very nice line, making sure that the rest of the team doesn't fall prey. Cumberland have to back away, head straight back towards that mid, a little bit more open space to fight.
Yeah, great read from Converse, and props to them as well. They're playing that top wave. They know that they're not in a rush right now, so they can take their time. They don't land.
A little bit of an outside catch. Hot Dog actually catching Scooter on the way side, but once again, it's not good enough. Getting baited into the battle. I don't know if that was forced or not, but they have found it. One down. Broad Coma dives straight into the back line, but actually misses. Pop lost no on 3. Once again, it is Scooter to start the battle off, but do they have the damage? Suki is still alive in the back line. Yes, that Scooter might have found it, but no one was able to follow up. Suki is still alive. Fiji and the rest of the squad, though, ramp their way in. Hot Dog slows down. Scooter Hope 1 chasing Fiji about.
No.
And my God, Cumberland have done it. They do not lose a single player. They baited out, not good enough. And CVU fall to the flames as we are going to a 3-3 Dragon score.
The game just slows down, and overall, it's not just the fact that they stopped the soul from going over to Converse. It's also that they took Baron off multiple members of Converse, and now Converse is stymied again. We were just saying, if there was ever a time to push, if there was ever a time to break those inhibitor turrets that Converse have been struggling with, it was at that moment. And it all comes to naught. And this time, it's not Converse messing up the engage. This time, it's Cumberland finally able to play the front to back. That's Suki blowing everything to survive, but Suki did blow everything. And now Suki has no flash, has no ghost, and Converse has a window.
I almost want to say, and I want to go back to it, is the fact that we saw the Ornhorn go out, and Cumberland didn't even draw into it. They said the last time we used the Ornhorn, the last time we fought, not good enough looked for the flank and caught us off guard. They did that again and immediately called out the fact that not good enough was roaming up from the enemy side jungle. I just want to point that out because if that was a call by the team, amazing work by that to bait it out. That's why not good enough fell so quickly in that team fight. Will it happen again? No idea. We are now looking at 39 minutes into the game. We are looking at pretty much full builds across the board. You take a look at Not Good Enough, who has been power farming their butt off on the opposite side of the rift. You're looking at all 5 items, boots completed as well, upgraded across the board. Even the supports getting in there. We are reaching that point of no return, and the battles are going to leave a massive death timers.
Yeah, Suki literally just completing his 6th item. I believe it was either the LDR or the Runan's Hurricane there to come through. And Yeah, I think we're seeing that the gold gap is less relevant and Cumberland is able to start answering back. It's a little bit concerning for the side of Converse. And that window we were talking about, Flash, halfway through that cooldown, another, was that maybe 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and it'll be right back up from Suki. Looking at objectives, there's no reason for Cumberland to be aggressive. The next objective will be Baron in 2 minutes. So yeah, Cumberland going to be more than happy to sit back, wait to play for the Baron objective instead. And yeah, if they win a fight, when Cumberland win a fight, and granted it hasn't happened that many times this game, twice that I can think of, but when they do win, usually Suki's alive, and Suki can absolutely just rip through the turrets and take that Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? Full build completely? I mean, this is...
Yeah.
The only thing Suki has left to do is hit level 18. That's all you're really looking for. Heaven's Grace, though, taunting fate, if you will, ran straight into Duckman and Scooter, did not die. That is the wildest situation I've ever seen. Hope One now running interference as well inside of the mid lane, trying to step up, take a lot of that wave. And they do it again. Not good enough.
Oh,
looking
no.
for that flank angle. And I think this time it's just disaster because no ults have actually been utilized. That's going to be the paranoia going down. No one in range, though, so it is going to be a paranoia for paranoia's sake. Heaven's Grace still alive. Shockwave going to draw right back. Hope One trying to get away, but you cannot. A double ulti from the Ornhorn plus Cataclysm will decimate Hope One's life, and you die with your flash up. It hurts so bad. Cumberland Phoenix, though, on the hunt for yet another is not good enough. It's completely out of position once again. A flash over the wall is not good enough. It's going to hop back over the wall instead. Hot Dog is now going to join in and say, Hot Dog, it's a potential other kill. CVU are going to try and run interference, but that is just a clone. Scooter running a diversion tactic I've ever seen one, as Cumberland go right back to mid.
Okay, so this starts off with Heaven's Grace, face checking, having to burn Flash, but it walks away with Converse doing a beautiful stall action, and the difference in the comps is showing. We kind of criticize Converse's composition for not necessarily having the easiest front to back or the best setup for team fight, but what they do have is a lot of threats. So even though Hope One does go down, even though the AD carry is taken out, Scooter, Duckman, not good enough. All of them are big enough threats on their own that they stall out Cumberland from being able to push whatsoever. And huge props to the side of Converse. Unfortunately, or actually fortunately, they actually didn't burn any flashes overall. I am shocked. I thought they burned some to just waste time, but no, not good enough. Fancy feed was able to just buy time just with Aatrox's base abilities. Huge props to him.
And to be fair, I think it was a lot of overcommitment from Cumberland's side. They burned a flash on the orange just to try and get a knockup, and like, not good enough was like, all right, like, you tried. Yay. It was like, all right, this is what happens. But we are coming up on a major objective. If Baron does not flip the tables, the Ocean Soul will. And I call that with all the love of my heart. That will be a battle that we want to watch. We are at that 42.5-minute time where I called it before. I said we were gonna go the distance. And my God, my producer wants me dead for saying it, but I'm excited for the next 4.
I'm sorry, Adam and Chippy, our producers for tonight. I'm here for a long series. I'm here for a 3-game series. I want to see more of this. It's finally started up by Converse. Burn at this point melts fairly quickly, and there's no vision from Cumberland in the pit right now.
Baron already down to about 6k. A very heavy lean away from your own jungle, making sure to keep Suki safe. But the Baron is slowed down. Fiji actually running interference. The rest of CVU actually have to dance off. It reset, and now they're calling out that paranoia. Who are they watching for? Suki is spotted, but do they get the fight off? Yes, they do. It is going to be a jump right in, though, as it's a denial by the rest of Cumberland as they destroy Broad Coma mid-transit. Are they going to get more? Hot Dog looking for a chance. Gets a great Cataclysm. Locks down Duckman. Duckman goes down, and guess what? Suki is excited. Flash forward into a rocket into Scooter's face. Hope One is about to be dashed against that wall. Arcane shift over the wall, but my God, you're on the wrong side of the battlefield. But guess what? The poke is good. Suki and Hot Dog recognize that, hey, maybe I can't shift this as cleanly. Meanwhile, take a look at that mid lane. Fiji is going, stole them out. The Ornn will push for whatever the heck we're watching. Retrozing flashing over the wall, trying to get some help from Heaven's Grace, but not good enough. Being danced upon in the spatial glide. Suki picks up the kill and is now on a killing spree as RMC Cumberland rises from the ashes of their early game and are looking to take over the gold lead and the game at some point.
Bro, don't call it yet. The game is not done. Cumberland, they're going for Baron right now, but because of the chase they committed to, because they were so wary of what not good enough and Hope could potentially do, they only take Baron and not much else. Now they are sprinting towards Dragon. Hope One, the only one who has not respawned from Converse. But there are a couple of low health bars, and we said before, for Converse, they don't need their AD carry to be a threat.
Really don't. But this is going to make it oh so hard. After 44 minutes, 45, we see the Ocean Soul in the hands of Cumberland. Full builds on majority set and a singular grievous wounds on poor Scooter, who is holding up that lifeline of, I will negate the healing, if ever so slightly. Like, it is a singular Oblivion Orb.
I mean, I feel like you need it, right? Like, I don't know if they can kill Fiji.
Well, no. You need it. You need more, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
CBU needs more.
It's like that meme with, the guy just holding up the entire... Scooter's Atlas right now. He's holding up the entire globe for his team, because I don't think they can kill Fiji. Fiji's got 6,000 plus health, plus resistances with Warmogs.
He's cosplaying you. Scooter's cosplaying you.
Dude, that is literally, yeah, like my loading screen was me just wandering around as a costume. But Converse, to be fair to them, they have survived. And while the last couple fights have not ended well for them, and huge props to Cumberland for that, I think they're peeling back very, very effectively now. They still have ways to play this out. Look at where Not Good Enough is. He is deep behind enemy lines right now, going for Mission Impossible. Unfortunately, I don't think he can get in without being spotted. He's going to try. Oh. Has he done it?
To be fair, this is like the 4th Mission Impossible he's gone on, and it's not doing as well as Tom Cruise. I'm so sorry. It has been a drastic problem here that you are hoping for a good battle, but you are roaming in and you're going to be spotted. Take a look at all the wards that Cumberland currently have behind them, and they see it. They understand that this is the game plan that they've had every single time of collapse in on the opposing squad, do this 4-1 split, and they cleanly back away from it. I love what Cumberland are doing. CVU are feeling this pressure in more ways than one. In goes that Ascension.
Retrosing is
it is going to be not good enough, but a pop blossom in the back catches 3, and this might be enough, but guess what? You didn't catch Suki. That is once again the name of the game, but you burn through 2 immediately. It's a turn back of 1. Suki is going to only have Fiji in that front line. Not good enough. Has got that flank option. Caught Suki. Suki got knocked up. Has no flash. Only has ghost. Last auto is going to crush their souls. CVU bite back with the absolute fury of 1,000 suns and takes 4 kills.
Sorry, what did you say overall? Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise in your heart.
That
was Mission Impossible. That was not good enough. Being more than good enough. We talked about it. He sat behind and he did find it. I was worried when he went from Retro Zing. Retro Zing was not the main threat, and he did get the shockwave off. He's got the Zonias to buy time as well. But Suki didn't have flash, didn't have ghost, so they were able to run him down, and while Fiji is unkillable, they just kind of ran around Fiji, and Fiji couldn't stop the team from getting onto his AD carry. And with that, Orbital, the game goes on, because Converse was so deep in their base, they can't push out.
all the waves weren't prepped in their favor. I mean, that's something that I think Cumberland were actively doing right before that battle, is Suki was off pushing the mid lane, so no wave was able to crash. So yeah, they aren't able to finish it, and now Cumberland Phoenix can go back and go, cool, we didn't really lose anything. And at this point, you're like, okay, what do the kills actually give you? What XP are you getting? Everyone's level 18 outside of friggin' Scooter and Heaven's Grace, right? Like, what XP? What gold? Everyone's sitting on max items. At this point, RMC, I'm going to grab a chair, kick back, and wait for the next team fight, because that's literally all that matters.
To be fair, the team fight shouldn't take too much longer, right? We've got Elder on the table now,
True.
2.5 minutes. We've got Baron in 2 minutes. I don't think Baron's that important anymore. We've seen both teams struggle to push when they got Barons. They won a piece, and neither was able to push in. But Elder, that one, surely that one ends the game, right, Orbital?
Surely it won't go to 57 minutes and 42 seconds. It definitely won't go that long, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. We'll never reach the 67 and 3/4 minute time frame. I don't see. Alright, well, we're looking at the paranoia going in. Bronco was saying, I don't want to last at 50 minutes either. What a chunk out of Hope 1! Hope 1 gets absolutely obliterated on the backside, limps their way back to base, and Cumberland Phoenix are like, yo, you better not step to us.
But Hope 1 lives,
Holy,
and that's
what
critical.
Is this chase? What is this chase? Hot Dog going so much further ahead than the rest of his team.
Oh, he couldn't get enough damage to actually kill them, and now Not Good Enough gets that free push on the bot side. Fiji went back to base to answer, actually manages to save the inhibitor, and that is critical right now, because there are supers pushing down mid lane for Cumberland. There's no answer from Converse. Not good enough.
Oh, you're gonna try and chase out. Good little slowdown though. No one wants to expend full ultimates, but Duckman, what is this? force flash to safety. Heaven's Grace is able to force not good enough out as well, but that is an ulti burn. Fiji does not have the Orn Horn to go, but Scooter, look at the back line, what a pop awesome! Scooter yet again is driving the automobile to game freaking 1, catches the back line, double kill with the rest of the team. Fiji's the last one alive, but this is no paradise, this is no way for a vacation. It is CVU shutting the door down. They have a singular cannon minion to say, please, for the love of God, bring it on home. Fiji TPing back into base, so you TP into 5. It don't matter if the minions there or not, because that is game number 1 to Converse University.
Orbital, at the beginning of the night, you said you hoped it'd be a banger. And I told you, I guaranteed you it would be a banger. And are you not entertained after this first game? This feels like a game 5. And between both these teams, when two teams meet up this frequently, 5 different series, before NECC even starts, and their hit-to-hit record's 3-2. I guess we shouldn't be surprised when their games are gonna deliver. But what an amazing back and forth. And you can really see, I think, Cumberland's resilience coming back with this skill and composition and getting as close to winning as they were. And Converse, their mechanical execution. They got the early leads they were supposed to. They dominated the majority of the game. Yes, they lost a couple of team fights. But at the end of the day, they were the ones to clutch out the win in this critical game 1.
Honestly, I'm surprised that we even got to that point. We talked about the fact that Cumberland, they've beaten Converse before. In 2-0 series before, they've won very handily. And the fact that it already feels like this is going to go the absolute distance. I love what we are seeing here from Converse saying we are going to tie our series record in head-to-head at some point. However, before my producer Rich and I head off, we are going to go to a very, very short break, and we are going to get ready for game number 2. So please don't go anywhere. The NECC Night of League of Legends will continue in just a bit. 51 minutes. 51 minutes is what it took to watch Converse take down Cumberland, with Cumberland having a very late game centric composition. It's one as old as time with the Jinx, Karma, Ornn, and everything. And it came through because Converse banded together with what I feel like are some players that may not have thought they would be here at this time, and yet they performed exemplary work in their roles.
Fair enough. And overall, that just makes me super excited to get into game 2, because when you've got such a close game 1, you can bet that, the losing team, Cumberland in this case, is frothing at the mouth to get back into that game 2 to punch back, because they lost from just one fight, right? And they were coming back, they were dominating. And for Converse as well, when you saw such an exciting game, the way they turned it around, right? Like they want to get back in as well. They want to close this series out. And we talked about how these teams have met up multiple times. Let's talk about the 2 series that I know of that they played back in the Passion series, the Concord Passion series LAN. They played the winners finals against each other, where Converse beat Cumberland 2-0. They played grand finals, where Cumberland beat Converse 2-0. Common thread? It's always 2-0s. And coming to today, Orbital, I'm curious to see whether the Converse can actually close out 2-0.
And that's what's going to be interesting, is because the Converse is able to close it out 2-0, then all of a sudden they got to have another rematch. And that means in the Div 1 section, who knows? Maybe we got to see him later on in playoffs. I don't know. But of course, you got to stay tuned to find. No, I don't know. Not next episode or anything like that. What I will say, though, is 2 players that stood out in our eyes was Broadcoma as well as Scooter. These 2 obviously showing a lot of penchant for strength when it came to that Nico, when it came to that Nocturne. Amazing mid to late game calls that it really did feel centered around that factor. Suki was not allowed to play a comfortable game in that late game because of them.
Yeah, and sort of the 2 role swap players. Like we thought they'd do well in the role swaps. We've heard good things about, the role swaps, but I wasn't confident. I was thinking, okay, maybe it comes down more to Hope 1 as being, that mechanical AD carry to be able to carry games. And sure, he got the solo kill, but the fight's really hinged on Broadcoma and Scooter. That last critical fight was Scooter finding the angle in the paranoia onto Suki and locking Suki down. That Jinx immediately dope after by Broadcoma, and huge props to them. Now, Broadcoma in the jungle, he's still got options as to champions that can, look for backline, who can go diving. But Scooter is the interesting one, because Scooter role swapped from mid, and Nico is a champion that you pointed out in draft is a mid lane champion and can be played support as well. But there's not a lot of other mid lane mages that would transition well to support and play engage, right? I know that Scooter plays Mel, Lux, Karma, which can't be played again since it was already played, but none of them are engaged champions. And I feel like with how well he played that Nico, I kind of see him on something like Rakan, where you've got that mobility to find that backline access and kick off fights just as well as a NECC can.
We'll see if they can pull it off, and what we do get to see Scooter actually play on, whether it be maybe a more engage heavy champion or not, because we actually see Cumberland on the red side of the battlefield this time around. Now, it is a little bit awkward sometimes. We don't normally see it. I feel a lot of people, you were talking about it in the green room, that a lot of people do prefer to have that blue side, have that first pick, have a lot of those priority picks. The fact that Cumberland opted for the red side shows that they maybe are looking at more of a counter pick situation. Maybe that R3, R5 is a higher position. At the current moment, though, we are looking at a little bit different draft bans to come out. The Scion and the Yone, I believe, were banned out before by CVU, but the Rumble, I think, was a little bit interesting. I think it came a little bit later in the ban phase. Syndra, though, well within range.
Yeah, Rumble wasn't even banned game one, and that's why I'm a little bit surprised that Cumberland actually opted for red side when there are power picks like the Rumble open and available for blue side to pick. And I feel like this Rumble ban is precisely because Converse is now on blue side. They just don't want to give it over. I don't necessarily think not good enough is. It's not about not good enough being a Rumble one trick or anything like that. It's just a generically strong champion that he does play. Wukong now being banned by Converse on blue side. It was actually banned by Cumberland on the blue side last game.
Okay, so saying, hey, we still got to work out for some of these champions. We got to watch out for how quickly they can scale up. And understandably, this is going to leave open a wide variety of options. If you're looking at that mid lane once again, you could go for a little bit safety if you wish. But no, it's an opt-in to a Maokai, which to me is a little bit surprising. I feel like you could have gone for a power pick lane, especially with how hard of a focus there was in mid lane before. But the Maokai still provides a decent amount of support depending on where you put him.
And what we do have to remember was that RetroZing opted for the blind pick Orianna, blue one pick, right? So that was a Hui counter pick to come through from Duckman. I'm not surprised if Duckman is opting to hold off his mid lane pick to potentially see what RetroZing might pick up. Instead, tank junglers coming through from both sides. Maokai, a complete 180 from Nocturne. And much better sort of front line to create a hyper carry situation where you've got to save hyper carry. And Cumberland, I think, reading that has instantly gone for the Sivir. If you're talking about hyper carries, Jinx is up there, Zeri's up there, Sivir's up there, and they want to make sure that they've got some sort of answer. That's not a hyper carry.
Ooh. No, this is CVU once again kind of indexing into this early kind of mid-game powerhouse. I mean, whenever we see a Maokai and a Kai'Sa, this screams dive immediately. And normally a Maokai would be like, okay, you can deny. And then you do pair with even further dive potential. So this is CVU actually leaning into the game plan from game number one, which is, again, rule the early game. Rule this kind of early to mid, make sure the scaling doesn't go there. Which begs me to think, CVU, please play a little bit more proactive than we saw before. Please don't burn us at a 50-minute game. For Cumberland, though, what was banned out in game number one is now available and selected in that Zillion to pair on the bot side.
Yeah, and that Zillion, that's a specialty pick from Heaven's Grace. That's something that he's played, even back in his Bethany days as well, Lutheran Bethany days. So great pickup and something that can kind of enable your hyper carry once again in Suki's Sivir. Now, I do have a little bit of concerns considering that Suki, with the Jinx, did struggle sometimes with positioning. Sivir is also very short range, might get caught out. Hopefully the double speed boost, Suki should be fine and safe and won't have to rely quite as much on summoner spells like Flash and Ghost. But Hope's most played solo queue champion is the Kai'Sa. And if there isn't carry who can kind of dive and try and pop that Sivir very easily, it is going to be that Kai'Sa. And it's not just the Sivir as well. You can go on the Zillion. You can go on any squishy targets. I'm a little bit concerned for RetroZing and what he might want to kind of pick to round this out, to kind of survive potential dives as well. If he goes for a traditional mage, you are vulnerable to Kai'Sa.
What's surprising was you also saw the Mbessa, the Nasus, and the Gragas. These are all understandable, headed towards that top side. What surprised me was the Smolder once again kind of aimed at Duckman in that mid lane, just being like, look, please don't play it. We don't want to see that scaling. It would index very heavily in there, but you also look at a Sylas to come on out here. So a little bit more mid-game energy here. Yes, Sylas is very, very good late-game champion, but this does bring a little bit more power to the composition we were talking about for RetroZing specifically. Have a little bit more agency. We like it. The Talia to answer, though, this is a great answer and response.
Another sort of great 1v1 answer to come through for the side of Duckman, and especially since Sylas early on is kind of weak, Talia is really strong early on. Her base damages are pretty high and her pushing is strong, so that's a good answer. Jace being picked up by not good enough blind right now. And Fiji has some unconventional counter picks. That was what I was told by the coach. And I'm curious what his answer into this Jace might be, because there's no Scion here. Going with the Yorick, that Okay, that's something that we have seen as a good answer, but I actually look at it more as a skill matchup. It is a tough one for Jace, but theoretically there is space for Jace to outplay this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there is a movement in there, and we actually saw both top laners actively looking for those engagements. We talked about the Aatrox and the Ornn. Normally it's a wet noodle battle, and they went toe-to-toe with each other. There were multiple times where we saw them on about a quarter HP, so it might not be out there. However, it is much more dangerous this time around. We see so much snowball potential with the Yorick before, especially with how flip-floppy it kind of went with not good enough, actively wanting to split push. So the idea that York is coming out here, in my opinion, screams that Cumberland were actually kind of looking for this a little bit. But taking a look at the rest, though, CVU, this is once again just all around very aggressive, very take a couple kills, and it really does scare me because this brings to mind that we have to look at game number 1. Cumberland Phoenix, they got rolled in the early game. They did not have an amazing time. There was a moment where we were like 10-3, I think, in kill count. How does Cumberland deny that factor again? How do they smooth out this early game this time around?
I'm going to be honest, overall, looking at the lane matchups, it feels like it could go the same way again, right? The only lane that Converse has, which isn't really a winning lane necessarily, is that top lane with the Jace. And if anything, Yorick, I think once he gets a couple items, will do much better with the Jace. So even then, it feels like Converse still have a chance to play through the top lane. I'm looking at the jungle. I'm looking at Hot Dog coming through for Cumberland to be able to try and smooth out the laning phase, because his bot lane and his mid lane is going to need a lot of help. And he does need to keep an eye on the top lane. I'd actually love for Hot Dog to try and get an early gank into that top side. If you shut down not good enough right from the get-go, then it just becomes a non-issue at that point. And then the Yorick can just split push for days, get a ton of pressure down as well. The Yorick pick for Cumberland, I think, is a solid pick as well, because you don't need an extra team fight tool for your composition. With the Sylas, with the Sivir already there, you just kind of need another meat shield, not dissimilar to what Ornn was doing. And having a bit more threat, I think, is actually quite effective. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Broad Coma kind of go for a more AP-oriented Maokai with this particular composition. They're not really team fighting. It's a lot of poke and then potential dives, so you just want to get the damage out as fast as possible. Unfortunately, our draft has bugged out a little bit. That is an Alistar as a support for Converse. It's not Maokai being both jungle and support, though he can technically fulfill those roles.
If only you could add double Maokai, the multi-roots in there would be quite entertaining. Multiple saplings just around the map, which, by the way, disgusting. I love the fact that you pointed out the AP. The multiple saplings will be annoying to deal with at the end of the day, and also no cross-map ultimates anymore. We talked about the paranoia being such a big deal, so it is going to be a lot more, in my opinion, the vision game, trying to catch out, make sure you know where the enemy jungler is, make sure you know where a lot of these team fights kind of commence in, considering how that late game rolled around in game number 1, where everyone was zoning in on positioning. Do you know where your opponent is? Are you going to get 4-1 kind of pincered in? Are you going to have all 5? So many thought processes there. But of course, now we got to go down to my favorite part, which is the mid lane. Because in mid lane, we have such a different style. We mentioned before that as we dive into game here, RetroZing was put on the Orianna, was put on a little bit of a backboard, and yet now given the Sylas, I think that is my favorite way to look as we are diving onto the Rift. Scooter on the Alistar can make a big splash, but only if you don't lose your own ult to the Sylas that we just mentioned.
We might not get 2 Maokai's orbital, but we could get 2 Maokai
strong
ultimates.
Headbutt.
Yeah, through the wall from Scooter. Scooter's still feeling strong from game 1. RetroZing, let's talk about the ultimates, because we could get 2 Maokai ultimates, and RetroZing has a lot of options where he can steal the ultimates. And we're talking about we like him on this Sylas. I think it's a great pick individually. It gives him a lot more agency, but also it's going to help Suki out a lot. Because in game 1, with the Orianna, yes, she was scary. Yes, RetroZing did a lot of damage. His shockwaves, he got some really good ones. But he didn't have the threat as the fights go on. He's all about that initial shockwave. And so Converse could just say, okay, we just need to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Suki. If we kill Suki, it doesn't matter if only 2 people are left alive. We can still carry on and win the fight. But against RetroZing, on Sylas, that's no longer the case. Now you need to shut down Suki, and you need to shut down RetroZing. And RetroZing can steal an Alistar ultimate, Unbreakable Will, and just refuse to die. And then if you go on Suki, you can use the Chrono Shift from Zillion to bring her back to life, even if Suki does get dove and killed. So I'm liking that Cumberland have a lot more redundancy or sort of margin of error in the way they can execute their later fights.
It is a little bit of breath of fresh air. We saw a big part is Cumberland, they only had one way to play, really. It was like, look for the team fight, let Suki fight and everything. And again, it's more of just parroting what you're saying, you know? Hey, we do like the fact that there are more options, that there's more variety for a chance. What we're also seeing is a variety in the dodge aspect. RetroZing and Duckman are both sitting at about 200 HP. This is standard, I feel, for a lot of Silas players. If you're good at taking those trades, you get them low and then you surprise them at a level 2. But Duckman also understands that level 2s are hit first by Heaven's Grace and Suki this time around, as they are getting a little bit of a pinch for themselves. Heaven's Grace on this Zillion. It's going to be frustrating to play against, especially if Hope is not careful where they stand.
Yeah, and for Suki, he should also get the level lead, the experience lead from just having the Zillion passive to be able to bump him up the level. So that's fine. The problem is, unfortunately, even with the advantages, Sivir just isn't an early game champion. They nerfed her even further in lane so that her boomerang doesn't clear quite as fast either. Heaven's Grace.
Cool. Okay, so Heaven's Grace actually takes a lot of damage. It's because Suki and Hope opted to not actually duke it out. So Scooter's the only one that walks away from this one actually fairly healthy. But now you get a chance on the Suki's life as well. And they're willing to fight this. It is only a heal situation, but they get a catch and Suki has to run away. One last auto could have chunked out with the proc from the Kaisa, but it's not going to go down. RetroZing, as we look back, is dancing around as these early stages getting messy once again.
And choice by Suki to blow the flash instead of the barrier. Oh, Duckman.
Oh,
that was close.
He walked back into the burst, by the way.
but he didn't get hit by the chains. No, it's gonna let to come through. That's crazy. And props to Duckman for being willing to do that and actually dodging out. But that shouldn't be how that matchup goes. Talia has the range advantage. It's range into melee. She has better poke as well. RetroZing, with the agency we're talking about, able to kind of make advantages on his own and not good enough, struggling right from the get-go.
That doesn't look good either, quite honestly. But what we are watching is this bot side dive Scooter taking a lot of extra damage. But guess what? Hot Dog is around the way. Of course, Hope speeding their way to safety went with the flash ghost yet again. And Hope and Scooter are showing off and saying, look, we did well game number 1. We're going to do well again.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for Hope to run the Ghost with the Kaisa. Mobility is king in a lot of these fights, and there's not a lot of point-and-click lockdown either. All the CC requires you to land some sort of skill shot, so Hope showing the strength of that Ghost, and it'll enable him to chase down on targets much quicker as well. RetroZing again getting in.
And it's just free damage at this point. Wow. One of those frustrating points of watching the mid lane is you see the junglers also duke it out, Broad Coma and Hot Dog. I think exchanged with abilities up there. I don't know what happened. We just saw Hot Dog kind of like curve into a wall there, which was pretty funny. Heaven's Grace, though, saying, you have no flash. You don't have any safety. And it's a free flash into a free double bomb into a free kill. Duckman going down here as his first blood to Heaven's Grace.
Unfortunate for Heaven's Grace, he was trying to give that over to RetroZing, but RetroZing wasn't able to get the last hit in time. Heaven's Grace picking up first blood. That's fine though. First blood doesn't matter quite as much anymore since you don't get the bonus gold on it. So, you know, it's just that the kill gold went over to the Zillion, but that's not terrible when we know that Heaven's Grace, for example, can build a bit more damage if he wants to, or rush that utility to help Suki get to safety. I think the biggest issue is that Duckman is getting set further and further behind.
Oh, wow. Not only that, Heaven's Grace, no flash this time. Instead, pays with their life on the bottom side, and to me, that's terrifying. You got the kill, but then you gave one back to Hope, one of all people? Oh, what a great bait as well. Suki only has barrier. That's going to be a stun underneath the tower, so the damage isn't really going to be big, but Hope 1 is like, this is like a cakewalk to me right now.
It is, and a lot of that's because Scooter's playing this so well. It's just rinse and repeat. Scooter just walks up, says, you disrespect me, I just pulverize you, stun you, headbutt you. Now Hot Dog, again, revisiting this bot lane. He does have flash, but no impale available for a Hot Dog. So no way of really locking down this Kaisa Alistar right now. We're just taking over this bot side of the map.
It's a good thing you're doing so, because we have seen leans away from CVU getting a good, strong contest in the early game in the other lanes, but that's such a great flash forward, and Suki, no spell shield, you're just done. That is how you gift a kill to your ADC, by the way, Heaven's Grace. Learn from Scooter.
And he just caught milk those, like Suki, Heaven's Grace. But just seeing Scooter walk up and repeat that over and over and over again, like Scooter's not having to burn too much to make that happen. He's just saying, okay, even if you have the spell shield, I'll just pulverize the first time. If you get any sort of angle into a wall, I'll just headbutt you and get the stun off. And even if I don't, you're just taking damage the entire time. So now Hope 1, 2-0, very accelerated in this bot lane. And Hope 1's the scary person on this composition. He's the one who's going to go diving into that backline, melt everybody. And normally, Okay, yeah, short range, you're into Silas. It's a little bit scary. But if Hope One gets accelerated enough that he starts beating RetroZing, if he can actually win those 1v1s, well, that's the point of the game where Cumberland just don't have an answer to the Kai'Sa whatsoever.
And I want to point out the fact that Hope did that on a scaling build path as well. It's a double Cole build for both ADCs, and the fact that you're able to pick up 2 kills behind already signals that you're going to be in a really, really good spot. I don't mean that it's going to be game-ending by any stretch of the imagination, but normally when you see Coles, it's like, yeah, we're focused on farming. We're not focused on getting kills because you don't really have that extra damage spike. No, but you've already done so Hope One is so happy. Now Broad Coma, though, saying maybe I don't want to be here right now. It's a level 5 versus level 6, but Hot Dog already went for a lot of that amped up HP to work with, and with Heaven's Grace and RetroZing technically a little bit better over Duckman, it makes sense that you're going to give over the Scuttle.
Yeah, and Hot Dog's also not level 6, so he doesn't have Impale, or they might have committed a little bit harder to that. Broadcomb has been doing a wonderful job just power farming, looking like the AP build. We're seeing the Faded Ashes come through already, which is speeding up Broadcomb's clear as well. And yeah, it feels right now that Converse in a great position.
Did that go through the spell shield? I don't think it did, but that is ridiculous damage output. Hope is looking for a dive, by the way. If that exhaust wears off, you could go at it, but you're taking up a lot of minions as well. Hope does not care, though. And I love the ballsiness. I hope one and Scooter, that's level 6. Now you can dive underneath. Unbreakable Will is ready to go.
Oh, they beat it.
Diving all the way through. He got one last auto, and you're going to do it. Scooter going to sacrifice his life for the double up. There it is. Hope won with 4 kills to start off this game 2.
Okay, but actually, genuinely, watch Scooter's support play, because he's being the perfect support right now. Genuinely, that dive was clean, and the spell shield blocked the hit button. Scooter used the hit button to reposition himself. He wasn't using it for the knockback. He used it to drop the shield and then get the pulverize and the stun combo in. And for Hope One right now, this bot lane is just so easy. What was that? The old Afro move video? Playing support just that easy? Yeah. Scooter, take this video, post it. Same thing, man.
Don't speak of the old ways of Scooter, because Scooter's like, this is the new way of playing. But it's so real. It is so true in the fact that Scooter is playing this Alistar to an exceptional level. And we talked about the fact that Scooter was the linchpin. The whole reason why Game 1 fell into CVU's hand in the first place. It was Scooter as well as Broadcoma. And you and I were actually debating this. You and I were talking about, you know, who had the most impact in our opinions. You mentioned Broadcoma had such good strength, but to me, Scooter had the best and brightest moments each time on that Nico. And you were mentioning before, yes, it's only 10 minutes. I understand that for those yelling at me, but Scooter is already showing once again that they are amazing and doing so much work here in the early stages on this support play. Not good enough, though. Not in the same boat, unfortunately.
And honestly, okay, so not good enough. Every time we pan up here, he's getting bullied out by Fiji. But I do want to highlight he's done a great job. He's actually up CS right now. He's been playing it very, very well. Problem is it good enough? Nope, not okay. You know, it's in his name.
Listen, we cast the curse a few times. That was just, we saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah, it's really tough, and unfortunately for not good enough, you just have to just run away from the turret completely. This is the part of the game where unfortunately not good enough did really well, but he didn't get any help, and this is where Yorick just starts to outscale you, and then the 1v1 starts to turn very poorly. The mid lane as well. RetroZing's also been doing a phenomenal job. We saw him push out Duckman early. We saw him get the kill with Heaven's Grace's help, and he's been able to snowball from them up 19 CS right now. So Hope is doing a great job, but it's kind of being equalized, and the game's actually still really, really close. Not to mention, Suki's a scaling champion anyways.
It's happening again, and it might be enough time, but the chrono shift does work. Plus the impale as the turnaround is there. Hope won. Dove a little bit too far, and Hot Dog saves the bot lane.
I want to point out Suki at barrier. So that's a good call, and that was the support and AD carry communicating that, hey, we're just going to use the chrono shift, save your barrier, it's a longer cooldown for now. So they just baited it in, and Suki, again, like we said, is a scaling champion. Suki just needs to survive. He doesn't need to get lane dominance, he doesn't need to get pressure, and now with this kill, I actually don't know if Cumberland can pick up the dragon.
They're definitely going to try.
Yeah, no,
I was about to say, like, you look on the top side of the map, CVU are allocating a lot of resources just to pressure out, which is also partially, I'm guessing, why Cumberland were like, yeah, we can take this, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what they were doing specifically, though. I think Broadcoma was just going in there, grabbing a red buff, grabbing some extra camps, and maybe alleviating pressure. The pressure that we were talking about, not good enough, needed a long time ago. However, that's another catch. Scooter is forced to burn the Unbreakable Will, and has to step away now. So not only was it a kill back, Hope 1 getting taken out, You also get a nice little lane exchange for Suki and Heaven's Grace. They burn the Unbreakable Wall, meaning no dive for the next minute and a half.
That cooldown's really short, I feel like, for Alistar.
Yeah, it is.
And in a 1v2, without his support, Hope One is still stepping up and zoning them out. So a little bit unfortunate, but to be fair to Hot Dog, he also had nothing he could do anyways. His top side of the map did get cleared by Broad Coma because they were up in that top area. They knew they couldn't, or they chose to not even try and respond to that dragon, which is fine. And they just opted to clear that top side anyway. So Hot Dog doesn't really have any options in terms of what else he was going to do at that time.
Converse, though. Hope is still playing just outside of range here and really dancing it out. And that's because Broad Coma was coming around the side. From top to bot, they've gone, but this time spotted out. Suki and Heaven's Grace, I don't know if you actually want to stay here. This is going to look like a powerful dive. In comes the TPs as well. Nice double headbutt into the pulverization. They just annihilate Heaven's Grace. It's a really smart call. Chrono shift on Suki. Just take down Heaven's Grace. No problem. But on the other side of the map, first tower goes Fiji's way as destruction continues to mount.
Yeah, and despite the dive, that does mean that Cumberland are kind of matching in gold. Not good enough now running back up to the top lane to try and cover, but RetroZing,
I think RetroZing dancing this one out knows that they have enough HP, by the way. But Hope One shredding through some of that. We're seeing that power kind of break through for some of those carries right now.
And that's the concern we had earlier, right? We said, hey, if even RetroZing can't handle Hope One, then who's answering Hope One right now? You've got to spend so much resources in just trying to equalize and balance it out. And RetroZing, at that time, was actually kind of an item behind. He just completed the proto belt on this base, and maybe now he actually has threat onto Hope One. I kind of hope we get to see that sort of 1v1-esque matchup again. But if we do see that orbital, somebody's dead. They're not both walking away from that confrontation.
That's a little bit too true right there. It's just like, okay, that was a stat check and a half at the end of the day. That is what that was. But they're going ahead and waiting for just another moment here. Because a lot of the objectives have already been cleared, Scooter is now free to rotate around the map and is hoping to find some action here with Duckman and the rest of the squad. But Scooter's about to find out very quickly that there's not as much power, in my opinion, with the rest of the map lanes. Especially matched with Hope One, so it's not that bad of a day, but Heaven's Grace is like, I don't want to deal with Scooter. You slow down over there.
Yeah, I mean, Heaven's Grace has the advantage of just having better mobility as well as, you know, range to be able to poke out. I was a little bit sad. RetroZing was hunting for Hope One, actually, when Hope One was pushing in that top side, but Hope One respectfully backing off, and that was probably the right play to make. Unfortunately for Converse as a whole, though, they are falling behind in terms of the rotations because they're trying to give a safer lane to Duckman, and they want to keep Duckman mid where he can respond with that Weaver's Wall. They don't really have a safe lane for Hope One, and the rotations they kind of did end up opting for meant that not good enough was not in the bot side to answer Fiji. So Fiji gets another free turret. This Yorick is, I suspect, you know, heads and shoulders above the counterpart right now and becoming an absolute issue.
I think at this point, not good enough. We'll never be able to match Fiji unless you get a little extra help, which is why we're seeing this opposite side of the map really be tailored in. This is going to be Hot Dog bounced around in the bounce house. Chrono Shift is going to keep you alive for a little bit longer, but at this point, it is a stall tactic. Good flash bang. Hail is not going to land, so it's a free kill number one, but the price to be paid is in your objectives. Once again on the bot side, Fiji has been pushing up a storm. Still, though, kill going over to Broad Coma.
Yeah, and that should give these this Herald for free over the way of Converse after that pick. Really well played from them. Flash is being traded between Hope One and Hot Dog though, so Hot Dog's Flash did have utility in terms of burning that. Again, I'm just not sure that they're able to really punish Hope One in time. Hope One's been playing fantastically in terms of positioning so far. The only time he died was kind of being very aggressive on that play bot side, but besides that, you know, defensively, he always seems to know exactly when to back out. And I'm kind of wanting to see what happens in a lot of these skirmishes right now. We're not seeing either team kind of go for skirmishes. It's a lot of picks that have been coming through from both these sides. But I feel like we're starting to hit the point of the game where I do expect to see teams maybe look for a little bit more. Actually, you know what? I'll take that back overall. Normally teams would be looking for team fighting. But Cumberland are still pretty happy with the Fiji split push at this point. And because there's only one Drake down, we might not actually see anything until Atakan spawns in 2.5 minutes time.
I think I mentioned that excuse me. I think I mentioned that before as well with Fiji grabbing that York. It feels like, you know, Cumberland have drafted away. They said, hey, we saw what not good enough kind of did on the Aatrox before. We could probably do that better, and they've yielded into it. I think they're going to stay at this for a very long time as well. Just so many things lining up for them. And it goes right back, though, to how Cumberland played game number 1 as well. They said, hey, you know, we're not too far behind. We're looking at the scaling. We're okay taking a couple losses. But how many losses is too many losses before we're like, okay, we got to kind of fight back here. We got to make sure we're there. Even though right now they are in a very comfortable spot. It's only 1,000 gold difference. Not good enough, is already in a very deep hole. I would say you only have the Youmuu's Ghostblade for yourself. You're not really going to be amazing dealing with Fiji. Hot Dog looking for a chance on this dragon. So everything kind of melding in to this pacing. Because we're going to see a sapling go out, stomp on Hot Dog's head for just a brief moment.
And Hot Dog just shields and doesn't care.
Nope.
I mean, he's a Crystal Scorpion. His hit is hard. He'll be fine. And we're kind of seeing for Converse as well, where they don't have a true tank and they're having a bit of problems, you know, trying to just walk in and tank this up. Broadcoma has a lot of damage. Can he find the pick?
Well, Scooter is saying we have the pick and a half. Very nice growth. The entangled Powerman is there. Scooter, though, forced to burn the Unbreakable Will. Retrozing ready to go on the far end. It did allow the Herald to charge on in, but it didn't take the tower, and that's a big ultimate going down here. Good catch onto Heaven's Grace, who doesn't get time to pop off the Chrono Shift, which allows a dive straight into the back line. No chance for Retrozing to grab that Unbreakable Will as well as the Riz he grabbed earlier. In comes the grass right back, though, as it catches multiple members. Duckman goes down, but Hope is still alive.
Okay,
Hope willing to dive as Killer Instinct is popped. Damage is abound here as Hope is allowed to free fire for ages right now, but Suki with the bouncing boomerangs takes down Broadcoma, and it will be a lead-in as Cumberland Phoenix take a majority share of the kills.
Okay, and this is critical for Cumberland. The fact that they managed to win that fight on the bot side while Fiji continues to split push. Because the longer they can isolate that top side for Fiji, the better the game goes. And Converse, yeah, again, lack of tank. The Unbreakable, the moment that goes down, Scooter is really squishy. And I already think Scooter was insane for sticking around as long as he did. He survived, which is nuts. But he was still waiting in that bush with Hope One, saying, hey, can we turn the tides? The answer is no. And we get our answer. Retrozing right now is strong enough to answer back Hope One. Cumberland still have scaling on their side with the Silas, with the Sivir.
Here's the scary thing as well. We just saw TP come down as Duckman quickly got to that bot side, cleared out the wave, pushed it in. Hot Dog and the rest of the squad are here as well. This is going to be Dragon Fight 2.0. What we saw earlier was just a taste. But take a look at the positioning as well. Not good enough is already rotating down. TP available for Fiji, which now means we might get our first ever 5v5. Retrozing dashing in. Got a headbutt out of Scooter, but most importantly, grab that Unbreakable Will.
Yeah, but once again, right, not good enough, being dragged back to the top side because Fiji is just isolating that top lane as much as possible. Cumberland just need to slow the game down and stop the dragon from being taken. Herald was used last time as well, so they don't have that for Converse to try and force this fight. Heaven's Grace, dodging, duck, and weaving, doesn't get popped this time.
It is really just that waiting time frame. CVU recognizing that they're on that limit once again, but this time they don't really have the advantages they had in game number 1. Hope One is the only one that can really dive on in, but you're still sitting only with 2 items, 2.5 in there. You went with the Gwynsues, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but you're still not going to be shredding through people as quickly as you would like. Not good enough. Waiting on the top side, barely dealing with those minions, and it hurts. That is all from minion damage, by the way. Purely minion damage, and not good enough. Has to walk away.
Yeah, super difficult. And the ghouls, they just do a lot of work, and that's one of the reasons why Jay struggles later on, and you kind of need to get the lead early in order to kind of have a hope. Again, Broadcoma never visited not good enough and tried to help out Hope One. And Hope One is ahead, as you said, but alone, not enough. Where are the dive buddies to come in right now? Not good enough is not diving. Broadcoma isn't tanky enough to dive, and so Hope One kind of in a bit of an awkward spot in terms of what he wants to do vis-a-vis what his team can do.
Well, that's one way to do it. I felt like this was almost a slow burn situation, but Retrozing saying it might be more than that. So I'm going to try and take Duckman's life, but it won't happen here. Full dive with the flash yields a shutdown, going over to Duckman.
And surely this is Octagon this time. Like, Converse is in position for it already. They've got the vision. They clear that out. And Retrozing was that big threat onto Hope One. Without Retrozing, Hope One's very comfortable with any fight that might break out around him.
It is, but at least there's an answer on the other side. Cumberland taking the mid tower, top side saved as well. But that buff is huge. The Otacon that we know and love can do so much work. So even though it was an exchange of blows in terms of overall objectives, it is still CVU favored, at least for the moment.
Yeah, and Converse kind of needs that Otacon. Again, the skilling that's coming through from Cumberland is definitely scary. So having the additional AP80 from those pedals is, I think, absolutely key for them staying in the game. 1,500 gold lead right now doesn't feel that significant. It still feels like Cumberland right now is stronger, despite the fact that they're down gold. It's only if Converse can continue finding these picks, which, credit to them, they've been able to find consistently. And that pick onto Retro just feels like the latest in a chain of them that's given them the lead this game so far.
Granted, though, that is the first for RetroZing, and I give that a lot of credit because we saw RetroZing get picked on a lot earlier on, and I think it's something that I was kind of thinking, like, I'm a mid lane main, man. Like, I love when my mid laners do really, really well, and RetroZing on the Orianna got picked on in game number 1. What we're seeing here as well, as I was just talking my butt off, is a massive ultimate exchange as the Weaver's wall went out trying to cover Fiji. Fiji flashed over that wall and got caught by the Nature's Grass, but no one went down. Everyone going back to kind of repositioning starts.
Yeah, kind of scary though when the Yorick can be burst down by the Kaisa. Like Hope One was looking to actually kill Fiji there, and Fiji had to blow the flash to get out. So, for Cumberland, this neutral state's getting a little bit tough. Their team fighting definitely feels stronger, but the neutral state and who's split pushing is becoming a little bit more complicated. It almost feels like Hope One is more effective in the side lanes than either RetroZing or Fiji right now.
I mean, that, I think, proves it right there, right? We just saw RetroZing go, oh, I didn't get the minions in time. Lose the tower. We're matching at a 2-4 pace, which is not bad. Hope is looking to break down this bot side as well, and Fiji is actually going to match for the first time. We're actually seeing it there. Scooter running interference against Heaven's Grace in the enemy side jungle across a lot of warriors. I think he got about half damage on that tower. Not bad with a singular push. So everyone jockeying at this current moment, trying to find the right outlet for gaining an advantage.
Yeah, this does change things a lot though, because I was thinking initially that Cumberland are okay with playing slow and just isolate for Fiji. That's still true when there's objectives on the map, because Hope needs to be at the objective and cannot afford to split push on the other side of the map. Hope doesn't have teleport. But when there's no objectives like what we're seeing here, I'm really liking what we're seeing from Converse in terms of using Hope to really pressure and then letting not good enough pick up farm somewhere else so that he can remain relevant in the game. Because while he can't really match the 1v1 of the Yorick, the poke that can come through from a Jace, right? He's already got the mirror mana completed. Could be significant. We'll see how exactly it ends up panning out.
I love that Hope is still willing to dance even underneath tower, by the way. Like, Heaven's Grace is very carefully plotting these moments of like, please let the slow do enough to make sure Hope doesn't dive us or anything like that. But this dance has been so intricate each time that I'm watching Hope, and I just want to see this continuation of power. Currently sitting at 3 items. We are watching another fight here as Scooter looks for a chance, looking for the headbutt pulverized, but only gets a headbutt. Instead gets chunked out on the back end as Tsuki and Heaven's Grace are showing strength. And what a great burn. Right before Dragon, Scooter losing out on Unbreakable Will.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And Tsuki as well, starting to hurt already just with the 2-item power spike, opting for the Infinity Edge Essence Reaver. So much higher bursts to come through, not quite as much consistent damage throughout a lot of these fights, but it's working. And if Scooter mispositions like we saw there with a hitbutt and Pulverize didn't really knock up Tsuki, it can definitely do it.
Well, right now, that was a ghost in from Heaven's Grace, a pseudo one, if you will. But this is a fight right back as the rest of Cumberland come out from the woodworks. They almost get not good enough, but not good enough isn't going to go down here. But it is Fiji to TP in for the battle. It feels like everyone was saving each other's life, and no one falls in return. Everyone allowed to go back, heal up, and get ready for the true battle, which is the dragon that just spawned.
I'm getting flashbacks to game 1 overall. This sort of standoff where like it's just kind of throwing hands at each other mechanically and seeing who can kind of survive, and both teams dodging out a lot of those skill shots really well. But as you mentioned, Cumberland, I think, have the advantage with their ultimates right now. Converse still looking to challenge though.
Well, the rest of them are coming up here. Scooter about ready to go in about 15 seconds. So watching this pan out. Maiden is still alive. Maiden is going to be sent off to the side. Hot Dog still holding on to this dragon. It's down to about 8k. Broad Coma has looked to smite away before. The Hot Dog has been pretty good on that pacing. It's down to about 2k. It's going to be a big fight. Hope going on the back line. Smited away is the Dragons, so Cumberland Phoenix are on Soul Point. With that call, this divergence out might be the big call. CBU have gotten a lot of kills before with the routing potential, and it is going to be called out here. Weave as well to slow them all down. But how's the fight occur? How are they actually going to fight this? I don't think they can. A massive empowered shock blast is going to land, but doesn't do more than that. Cumberland Phoenix walk away in a very precarious moment.
Converse decided to go big, and unfortunately they'll have to go home. So the Dragon was always going to be a lost cause with the Nature's Grasp picked up by RetroZing. He was always going to be able to zone them out. But Converse had the choice of trying to chase down Cumberland and beat them with the poke, which they were kind of doing, but not able to actually catch up and split apart Cumberland. Or they could have gone mid. There was actually a huge wave mid, but Converse let that go in terms of the chase. And Cumberland really well played on the disengage without paranoia. It feels like they're much more disciplined, and they were able to stay together knowing that Converse don't really want to dive, and they didn't have enough time to get the poke down to the point where they could try and pick off some of the tankier members.
Hot Dog and Heaven's Grace just kind of chilling out here, clearing out wards, getting ready for the next big objective. They've actually done very well for themselves. We didn't mention that they're on Soul Point, but it was a part to play for. Now they get a look at Duckman, though. Duckman, who has been this point of question each time, is not just gonna get hard dove. There is no way that you're getting out of this. Rest of the team is here, though. Try and play out. No way. Nah, Scooter again. Duckman should have been dead in the water right there. Flashes down to the middle lane. The chains don't reach. The chains don't freaking reach. Are you kidding me? I hate when my calls are denied, as Hope One is dancing in the back line. This powerful Kaisa tries to stay alive for a little bit longer, but isn't able to make it. But it is the rest, the entirety of CVU to play out the battle. They will take the 3 for 2 because for Cumberland, Fiji is still in the bottom lane.
And the Duck that kicks it off ends up surviving. Duckman is still alive at the end of the day. Heaven's Grace with the double bomb onto not good enough. I don't know if they can actually get Baron.
No,
Fiji,
absolutely not.
Okay, no, they might. I mean, Fiji doesn't have teleport, so Fiji needs to leave lane, but he keeps pushing. Heaven's Grace is just trying to distract, but Broadcoma needs to tank this more.
They're losing so much for this, though.
If they get it
Duckman
orbital.
is in no position to hold this inhibitor. It is going to go down here. Baron, no, they can't. Look at this. Look at that, they can't. What did I say, RMC? What did I just say? They can't do Baron. NGE is not good enough because you have been punched out of the early game.
I believe, but as you said, NGE, unfortunately, Broadcoma just wasn't tagging enough and not good enough. Unfortunately goes down. That's really rough for
When
Converse,
have you
because
ever heard the play-by-play call out the analyst for a Baron call right there? Like, what?
All the time, Orbital, because the
Okay,
players have different ideas sometimes. And that's really, again, it's really rough for Converse that happens too, because that was sort of the big breakout moment. They win the fight, but they actually lost out in gold because Fiji just gets to keep pushing. And that's an inhibitor down. Baron's up. There are supers now pushing for Cumberland in this bot lane. They don't need to send Fiji down there anymore. They can go, top, mid, 4-1 split push, have those supers going down, and that should guarantee that Cumberland have pressure over Baron. The Baron dance will always favor them.
Will favor in more ways than one, as Broadcoma forced to flash away here, but you flash directly into a stolen Nature's Grasp. Everyone from Cumberland this time around is willing to dump their ultimates just to get that kill. Scooter, though, wanting a secondary. I don't know if you really want this, though, because Hope is already chewed out of the HP department. Redemption coming in, but it might be a little bit too late.
Of course Hope wants
to turn
this.
around. Venturing is burned, though. Chrono Shift going to keep you alive for a second round. Who else is here, though? Nobody. Cumberland doesn't want to fight the rest of this.
And Hope, the player who got all the resources funneled early, who started the game with 4 kills, who on this key piece of Kaisa, the one late game really scaling piece of this composition is keeping them in the game. His mobility is causing Cumberland to struggle to start up this Baron, and with the poke of the Jace as well, with Talia's pickability, it's actually kind of tough. And Cumberland, they aren't able to start this up. They've got to wait, and Broadcoma is back on the map.
Broadcoma is, but there is another timer that we haven't really mentioned. Cumberland are allowing this bottom side to flush on into CVU's base, and now with it crashing inside of the base, they go ahead and turn their eyes towards the Baron. This is the appropriate call. This is the right call. This is hopefully the Baron taking call, as it is 8k down. The rest that CVU have already left, and it will be Cumberland Phoenix to take this Baron buff. Very nice objective. CVU on the flip side take the Dragon to not allow a 2-0 steal of the global objectives, and they go back to defend their base now. As CVU go, we're in for a rough time.
I don't know how much utility this Baron's gonna get. Like the inner turret, maybe, but I think Converse could still look for a fight in this sort of situation.
You know what? I'm really worried about following your calls right now. I'm really scared. Like, I don't know, because right now we're seeing the top side get pinched out. Is not good enough.
Dude.
Looking for the kill on Suki, but Suki's already down. Or not Suki's down, but NGE is down. And now it's a battle for the rest. You said this Baron isn't going to get that much activity. However, if the opponent is dead, you're going to get all the activity in the world. Scooter, forced to burn the Unbreakable, walk back to lane. Hope and Duckman going to try and hold the line. But you can't do much because RetroZing is pushing in the mid, and while this entire thing is going on, bot side still has super minions. Hope, though, dancing on in, Killer Instinct in, forces the exhaust out of Heaven's Grace, and that just switches options to the top side of the map. Down goes the inhibitor tower. CVU fighting a losing battle at this current moment. Scooter denied of their HP bar, not killed, but forced away for the second time in 30 seconds. Inhibitor will now fall. Cumberland Phoenix starting to take their rightful place in this game. However, a kill goes back, a price to pay as Duckman is ready for the battle galore. Heaven's Grace gonna skirt to the side of flash for flash as the stones do fly. Cumberland Phoenix say, how do we slow this down? RetroZing throwing down that Nature's Gas stolen away. Hope spotting an opportunity. Sprints forward, but no one goes down. But in comes the sideline action. That's a great punch from Not Good Enough. Secures the kill onto Suki's life. How far will this battle go, and how far will CVU lose their base if they wish to continue? Another headbutt. Fullway is able to fight it, but the Killer Instinct right back will gather some more gold. Down goes RetroZing, down goes Hot Dog, and Heaven's Grace will be the last. They have put Duckman on sole minion clearing duty. Will it be enough? I have no idea. Heaven's Grace is still baiting out time, but RMC, the lone sapling, will give Broadcoma the kill and the ace to CVU.
I'm glad I've redeemed my analysis, Orbital, because Converse was sure as hell looking for that fight, and they found it. They did have to give up a lot. And huge props to Cumberland for finding the initial pick onto Not Good Enough. That opened everything up. But Converse were always waiting. We've seen it multiple times now that with the poke that they have, they can still win these fights against Cumberland. They just have to be really patient about it, and they were able to find the critical turnaround. Now, Cumberland are still in a great position. That's an open base. All the inhibited turrets are down, and 2 of the inhibs are still down as well. Dragon spawning in 2 minutes. A Mountain Drake will do wonders. A Mountain Soul will do wonders for Cumberland to deal with the poke that's coming through from NGE, from Broadcoma, from Hope One as well. So Cumberland are fine. They just need to be a little bit careful. They need to continue playing cautiously, conservatively, like they have throughout most of this game. Even that last pick, I don't think is really a fault of Cumberland whatsoever. I think they're kind of playing it right. That's more on Converse finding the critical play when they need it to. But it's so much of a clutch up for Converse, and they have to do it more than once to come back in this game.
For Converse, that almost feels like a game 1 repeat once again. I know we keep beating this game 1 into the absolute ground, but it was. It felt like Cumberland were coming back. They had everything. They had the right momentum. And yet it just kind of fell apart without one catch opportunity. I will say for Suki, 3, 4, and 5 this time has a lot more in the bank, has a lot more safety value this time around, which we really haven't mentioned, except for the early game. Heaven's Grace has been amazing with these chrono shifts as well, really keeping the rest of the team alive, has a redemption to play with as well. This is amazing so far from everyone in this game. But for Cumberland Phoenix, they're saying we want this victory. We want to push us to a game number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 36 minutes into the game, and this is where game 1 started to break open in the craziness and the zaniness, in the absolute craziness of who wants it.
And this is when it comes down to that clutch fight, right? You can't afford to get caught out. And while we say that, Hope One is stepping up solo right now, zoning 1v3. Like, yeah, Scooter, yeah, Broadcoma, they're in the area, but they could not have reinforced Hope fast enough if they turned.
I like that Knight's Vow as well, I believe. Not a Knight's Vow. That is a Storm, whatever that is. It's extra auto attack pressure. Yeah. Having that one on Scooter. I thought a Knight's Vow would be nice, but honestly,
I mean, there is a Knight's Vow.
What's up?
Broad Coma has it.
Oh, Broad Coma does. Okay, so that's what I was wondering. I was like, what am I looking at? That's what I was looking at, and now we get a little bit of a chance. Nature's Grasp is going to be body blocked thanks to Suki.
Beautiful.
Oh, that was a really nice call there. Man, my eyes were deceiving me. I was like, yeah, I saw the branch there. I was like, my brain, please. But Fiji is saying, guys, if you're not going to worry about me, I will fight my way through. These towers are already chewed through, and this might be the call. That's the TV coming in here. Cumberland Phoenix are saying we are going to have the opportunity, and out goes. Not good enough, but the next tower's already down. No one else is going to be here. This is Cumberland Phoenix saying, you messed up, CVU. GG's. Let's go to game 3.
What a banger series, Orbital. Truly, game 1 gives us the comeback fight from a comp that was starting to falter in the skilling. The one team fight turns it all around, and here in game 2, it's a backdoor, beautiful shot call from Cumberland and from Fiji, from RetroZing, from these solo laners we were talking up in game 1, who weren't quite able to turn the tides. Here in game 2, they were able to do that in style, and now in game 3 Orbital, both teams have kind of been tested. Both hands are good. We've seen clutch calls come through from both. The 3-2 head-to-head, it's about to change, but which way it goes, nobody knows.
I don't even want to try and call it. Fiji making sure to, like, from beginning to end, by the way, this consistent split push menace, I'm horrified to know what we're going to get in game number 3. But of course, we have to leave that to the teams themselves as they're ready to go with their 6th series conclusion. That is, you heard that correctly. In the time that these two teams have been playing up, their 6th series in just a matter of months, it will conclude with this game number 3. So please do not go anywhere. We will be right back. Well played overall from the side of Cumberland Phoenix. They rose up here in game number 2. They denied history of 2 zeros, and Converse said, crap. That's all we can really say there. Fiji split pushing to end the game. RetroZing in the early to mid game looking a lot better as well. And then, of course, on the bot side, yes, there were some mix-ups there, but Suki as well as Heaven's Grace keeping themselves alive for a lot longer than I expected in some of those mid to late games.
Yeah, I feel like Hope would have a lot more to say than just Graf, given how well he played that game. For a moment, there were glimmers of hope from Converse that they could win, despite the skilling that was working against them. It felt like for a second, there was hope of them pulling a game 1 again where they win a critical fight and just push and win. But I feel like Converse are putting themselves in that position repeatedly. We've seen now both drops, it feels like Cumberland have better skilling in both those sort of situations. And going to game 3, I would like to see a little bit more insurance come through from Cumberland. I mean, in game 1, at least, they had a lot of damage options. The Hui scaling was there along with the Aatrox, so it was still kind of good. I think that's what I want to see in game 3 a little bit, because these games are going long. It's not being decided and set in the early game.
It really isn't, and this time around, we are seeing CVU back on that red side. So a little bit of a shift because, again, blue side not given that fresh opportunity. Instead, it is teams battling to say, we don't want that side. But the band should be relatively the same. Still the Rumble band out. Don't want to give that one up to not good enough, which is fair, not good enough. Looked a little bit lackluster. The Aatrox in game number 1 was okay. Game number 2 was, I mean, the Jace didn't really speak to us, but it was a blind pick Jace, so we can't harp on it too much. But these bands coming out here make sense. Again, that top lane heavily focused.
Yeah, and the top lane being focused in the first ban phase is interesting. When we've seen the top lanes be the last picks in both game 1 and game 2, Fiji and Not Good Enough. We talked a little bit about the fact that Not Good Enough likes his carries a little bit more, whereas Fiji likes his sort of lane neutralizers, his tanks, his utility picks a lot more. And that creates situations where Not Good Enough can potentially counterpick and get free skilling lanes or matchups in which he has much more impact later on, or much more agency and control compared to what Fiji can do. And in game 2, we saw Fiji just pick the Yorick into the Jace, a good matchup for the Yorick, and just absolutely take over. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see top lane be another sort of game of counterpick. If there is somebody blinding it, I kind of expect Fiji to be the one to do so.
If they wish to do so, that will have to be shown very quickly, as we're seeing a lot of those power picks once again banned away. Smolder, Syndra, Corki, these are all the exact same. This is also a rinse and repeat. We all get a little bit lazy once we get to game 3, 4, and 5. Most likely, we're just like, these are bans and all there. But we do get an Azir ban to come on out here, which is a little bit surprising. Big shit, but targeted once again at that mid lane.
Yeah, and I kind of like the change into the Azir for RetroZing, because the Sylas for RetroZing, I felt like was a big part of their win as well, even though he wasn't the winning part. He had so much pressure on it, and you want to kind of just take away agency away from RetroZing, push him back onto those conventional mages, which rely more on his team. Another big kind of switch up coming through the Wukong for Hot Dog here. It kind of brings me back to game one a little bit, where he's got a lot of engage potential. And for, Hope to take the Lucian makes sense because there's a lot of mobility, kind of like the Kaisa. But kind of dangerous into a Wukong, where you're short range into a champion who can absolutely just delete you with CC.
Okay, that's not okay. So normally if I see a Lucian, it's immediately followed by a utility support, right? Normally we see something like a Lulu, like a Nami, Karma. Well, Karma's obviously not being able to be picked up, but normally we see a lot more focus down to the bottom side. If that's an Amumu support, I don't know what game modes you're playing, but go for it. You know, play what you wish. If that's an Amumu jungle, this is the shift and a half. I think it's such a mid-late game centric style, and it does immediately draw out a Morgana and a Caitlyn, an immediate diversion away of saying we don't want to deal with that Lucian.
Yeah, and the Caitlyn especially really stands out to me, because up to now it's been Hope taking sort of the lane-centric, Suki with the more skilling picks. And Caitlyn can skill, but she has a very big power trough in the mid-game. And you do want her to kind of take over the early game. They did buff Caitlyn a little bit, so I guess that's what we're looking for here. It is going to be a Mumu jungle orbital, as Nami being picked up as you call it, that Enchanter support to go with that Lucian. My eyes are fully on this bot lane right now, because if Hope and Scooter don't play aggressive, they will lose out to the extended range of Caitlyn. But they do have kill threat that can come through. Morgana, though, does kind of shaft that plan a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Broad Coma go into that bot lane again. Last game, he ganked bot side, and Hope kind of rewarded that early sort of bot lane focus with a lot of pressure, with potential glimmers of carrying for his team. And I feel like with the Lucian Nami into the Caitlyn Morg, it's even more volatile that way.
It really does feel like the Morgana was almost a gut check reaction to the Amumu and what could possibly come out, because they were just like, yeah, we're going to grab it. And they're like, well, maybe it will work. But again, it makes sense, at least in that factor. However, heavy focus in the ban factors into that top side. You see the Mbessa, the Gangplank, as well as the Yone and the Gragas, all targeted up there. This is now 6 total bans that have been thrown together between the two top laners, saying we don't want to deal with them. That's all that's there, which means now either you hold counter pick and you pick up a mid laner for the side of CVU, and it is going to be that Victor to come out, one of the brightest freaking splash arts that I've ever seen in my life, and it is going to be a blind pick Victor.
Yeah, and I kind of like the Victor with this composition they already have, with the Amumu, with the Nami. There's a lot of AoE CC to potentially lock people down as is. But I am a little bit concerned that you can't reach to Morgana, you can't reach to Caitlyn. You're only really just storming onto the Wukong. And with the Aurora pickup for RetroZing as a counter as well, that's another champion with a lot of agency who can kind of play around the Victor. Fiji having to blind his top lane right now, and with, what's that, 2 top laners already removed, plus the GP taken and Rumble taken away. He's opted for the Cassante, which still has a bit more mobility. Can also just kind of all out and get himself out of Chaos Storms or out of rough, sketchy situations. Okay.
Welcome to the Thunderdome. Please go ahead and let it rip. We have a Garen here for R5. It is digging deep right now. I've heard inklings that Garen can have strengths, and if there's ever a lane matchup where I just I don't want to see that champion, I don't care, but it is Garen still for R5, and I like that specifically for not good enough. In a melee matchup, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and Garen, I feel like, has been sort of on the verge of being viable in competitive. I mean, Adam, back in the day on, was it Carmine Corporate? No, BDS. Was famous for his Garen as one of his sort of few champions he could play in the top side and absolutely dominate a lane with. So, I mean, the Garen pick here into the Cassante, I can definitely see working in terms of laning. My concern, again, kind of goes similar to the Victor, where, again, you're good at the team fight, but can you actually reach the Caitlyn? Can you actually reach the sort of Aurora and the Morgana at the backline? Yeah, that's not an Azir that's picked up. That's an Aurora for RetroZing there.
Unless we've gotten some weird words, we're pretty sure that Azir is supposed to be Aurora. Either way, the chicken is going to fly, one way or another. Whether it's roasted by the Victor Chaos Storm or not, it's up there. There we go. We got the Aurora. Okay. Instead of chicken, it's a bunny, and I feel really bad either way. So, getting into this mix-in matchup, I am... Again, I got to ask you, though, are your eyes still drawn to this bottom lane now that we've gotten a heavier emphasis from RetroZing and RetroZing as well as Duckman. These two have drafted fairly hefty, you know, I wouldn't say Victor is a fighter, but the Aurora draws a lot more attention in my opinion.
Yeah, my eyes are still drawn to the bot lane because the mid lane matchup favors Aurora in terms of the 1v1. And then Victor, you're really picking for the team fight later on and just kind of wave clear to get to that point. True. Whereas the bot lane is still the volatile lane that I'm looking at in terms of what's going to happen. The other place my eyes are kind of drawn to is actually the jungle, because you talk about a Mumu in the jungle as being more of a mid-late game pick, and especially when he's kind of the tank. Certainly he scales up a bit more and he's going to be the guy to access the backline, lock them down for the rest of the team to follow up. But in the early game, ever since they changed his bandage toss so that he can store one more and he can get 2 bandage tosses off, he's actually a really good early game ganker. But he is still very vulnerable to invades, and especially when I see something like Wukong on the other side. For Hot Dog, Wukong normally wants to power farm to level 6, scale up, and then once you get your ultimate, you can actually start ganking. But you can't go invading as Wukong into a Mumu, because a Mumu doesn't have great answers into the invade as well. And I'm curious to see if Hot Dog just tries to power farm, whether we see Broad Coma ganking early. I mean, from what we've seen so far of his patterns, the series, he does like to gank early. And if it is coming down to gank, counter gank, Hot Dog doesn't have the best options necessarily to help out in his lanes.
He just has to show his presence and pray that it is enough at the end of the day. And honestly, these two teams have shown us more than enough of what they can throw down, which I'm very, very excited for. So far, they have been playing on an excessive level that we are here in a game number 3. Maybe not the most thrilling game number 2, but my God, game number 1, 50-minute banger. This time, though, I'm sure they're willing to cut that one down considering what champions they have picked and hoping they can take advantage very early on. We are on to the rift for game number 3 between Cumberland Phoenix and Converse University. Let's dive in.
I will say as well, this game, I hesitate to say Converse is better skilling. They've got a Victor. That outskills pretty much everything in this game. But Cumberland, I mean, the Caitlyn skilling, she gets strong at 6 items when you finally reach there. The Aurora skilling is pretty strong as well. I do think it's fairly comparable, and that's going to make, to me, the mid to late game very interesting. And overall, if this game is anything like the rest of the series, we are going to get to that mid to late game.
Please don't tell me that. So far, my producer has promised to just murder me whenever they meet me in person, and it is a terrifying thought. But with the number of times that I've called for late game
I'm going to
antics.
expose you right now, because when our producer was complaining, because our producer would like a nice short series, Orbital told him, that's not my problem. And now I'm going to turn this down to Orbital.
You can't do that to me, no!
I want to see a nice long game. I want to see a close game. I want to see a back and forth game, because you say that game 2 wasn't as interesting, and sure, the ending was ultimately just kind of a backdoor, which wasn't all that desperate, but I still really enjoyed the game, and I did think game 2 was very, very back and forth, and that's all I want to see from this series.
You know what? For exposing me, I'm going to try and expose you at some point. I got nothing to expose, though. You're too pure of a caster.
You already questioned my analysis last game, you know?
I did! Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Listen, I do agree with you, though. This has been a seesaw effect, and we're looking at this bot lane, which is primed to be even more so. As you mentioned, the variety of options, whether it be the volatility or just the outright annoyance that both bot laners are going to try and put out, it can be one. Heaven's Grace, of course, posturing, holding on to that Morgana Q, just saying, please don't. I want to make sure to get the binding proper. Hope 1 just saying, please throw it, and that way I can engage on Suki and get some extra damage down. It's a read of reads at the end of the day. It is, are you going to throw this? If you do, I'll do this. And they play it out without ever actually having it happen.
Yeah, and I think for the side of Cumberland, Suki and Heaven's Grace in a way have the advantage with this bot lane matchup. I know I make it sound as if it's pretty evenly matched. It is Caitlyn Morgana favored, because the Black Shield can nullify a lot of the sort of engage that Scooter wants to put out. And if a binding lands, binding into Cupcake Trap is pretty much a death sentence for either the squishy of the Lucian or the Nami. But Hope and Scooter have been playing so incredibly well in the laning phase that I could see them turning things around. The problem is, it's on Hope, buffed up by Scooter, to try and make that happen. And it is a tall task. It is a tough ask. If Hope dashes in to gap close onto Suki, he leaves himself vulnerable to a potential binding to the face. And yes, he's got Cleanse. Yes, he's got Flash. But if you're using that on a basic ability, it does feel very, very bad.
Scooter stepping up there. Ooh. There is the binding off to the side. Hope not going to turn their eyes onto Heaven's Grace. Good Black Shield to keep Suki safe. There's that engagement, which is actually a lot more tactile than I actually thought it was going to be. Everyone making sure to keep eyes on the prize.
And you can see how mechanically demanding it is from Hope and Scooter. They played that very, very well, and still the trade's kind of even, because if at some point Hope has to go, okay, well, I'm not winning this and I can't all-in you under your turret, and as I walk away, Suki gets 2 shots and there's nothing I can do, and that kind of just evens things up. Hot Dog in a face-off against Broadcoma in the river, actually able to get their first snipe away that Scuttle and getting a bit of an advantage in terms of the clearing speed.
Providing coverage for the rest of the team, making sure the river is clear. Which allows Retrozing, who pulled an early TP angle, making sure to try and grab the boots plus the Dark Seal as soon as possible. Was even in the CS department, but now Duckman just trying to get the laser down, make sure you get some CS for yourself. Now recall on your own. There's going to be a dance back, though, as the bot side is once again there, and Hope gets a layup of a first blood. Yet again, Hope with first blood from game 2, now to game 3.
Normally, you bait the fish, but here, between Cumberland and Converse, the fish baits you, and Scooter gets it with the binding, but it baited Suki to step up, and the bubble lands. Hope able to get the kill. That's what we were talking about, and Hope and Scooter. This duel in the bot lane, they've been fantastic in their laning, and they continue to do so. They continue to be a strong point for the team. Broadcoma hasn't ganked down there. That's just a straight 2v2. Imagine when Broadcoma ganks down there. Even if it's after 6, that just means more CC to catch more targets.
I'd also say, in another angle, this actually allows Broadcoma to not go down there until level 6. You say, hey, well, for an Amumu, yes, he can early gank with the double bandage shots, but you really just want that Curse of the Sad Mummy, right? You want that guaranteed CC. You want that guaranteed, we will catch you. It gives more time for Broadcoma to be able to kind of CS up in that jungle, and you can see it there, only trailing behind by about 100. But namely, Duckman and Not Good Enough are doing their own and holding the lanes, unlike in game number 2. Remember in game number 2, we were watching Not Good Enough really have a tough time in that top side, was losing a lot of tower pressure. This time around, matching CS, getting a lot of good stacks off on that Q, making sure to land on the back of the head, and Fiji hasn't really been able to get an extended lead in that top side.
Well, to be fair, Fiji did get counterpick, right? The Yorick into the chase last game. This time, Not Good Enough opted for the Garen matchup into the Cassante. So for me, matching is not good enough, especially when Garen is a more lane dominant champion. A lot of his kit is geared towards that 1v1. And if that's the case and you're not winning the 1v1, then I'd argue that you're actually kind of falling behind. In team fights, yes, you can still spin to win, but I do feel like Cassante's all out and his ability to kind of reposition enemy champions is more useful than the potential AoE and execute that a Garen brings to the table.
Dragon spotted out with the Sky is Bloom. Was taken. Hope, though, forced into using that cleanse. It's good damage back, though, as Suki is down to about half HP. Hot Dog, though, like a hot dog of sorts, as they're trying to clear out that ward. They walk on back as everyone goes back to their comfort zones. Although Not Good Enough is saying my comfort zone is apparently an enemy side jungle as they proxy to full wave.
There we go. That's what you want to see in the Garen, right? The wins of the matchup. If you can't kill the Cassante, go kill his minions instead. But the problem is Cassante is another champion that can technically proxy, so Fiji's okay with it. He'll just soak the enemy wave and just kind of trade for now. For Not Good Enough, though, the reason why he's proxying was just to cut the wave faster to go for that lane swap. They will still miss out a whole wave bot, though, so I don't really know if the timing of that swap was optimal for Converse.
Converse might be running on a little bit of an awkward timing, as you just mentioned. I'll piggyback off of that one and take it a step further. They don't care. They're just like, look, at this point, we rule the timing. We will do what we wish around the map. And as long as Hope and Scooter have a good time, that's good. But, as you called, it was a little bit off time, meaning Hot Dog is up here right now. Hope and Scooter run straight into them and recognize this is not the right spot. You have no flash, you have no cleanse, so if you get caught with a double whirlwind, you might be dead. Good flash away by Scooter, but it's turn around with the culling, and it's enter back in style. Hope and Scooter take the 2v3. They're able to stay alive.
A salute to Hot Dog for their man. Oh, good enough.
Easy work, but the Curse of Sad Mummy on the back side will catch Suki unawares as Broadcoma is looking for a little bit extra, but Hope isn't able to follow up, so it's only the burn. You are praying for a little extra. Do you get the last little tether out? No, you don't! No. You flash into it, you pick it up, but guess what? Retrozing's here to follow and finish. Cumberland Phoenix take a majority share of kills, and power themselves to defeat a warfare.
Wait, and Duckman still wants more. I don't know if this is safe for the victor. He's taking a lot of grub damage. The little voidlings are hurting, and Orbital, the back and forth between them as well. I was thinking, I'm crying for Hot Dog here. Hot Dog finds a perfect engage, but Suki and Heaven's Grace could not follow up, but it turned out it was for the better because it ends up baiting more of Converse into that fight, and Cumberland just collapsed faster. They get their numbers there in advance and therefore are able to win that out. Ever so slight edge to them, Orbital. The smallest of leads. I'm going to be honest, I don't think it swings things in the short term, but hey, if they can find a couple more of those skirmishes in their favor, that's what their comp wants to do. Their comp wants to take off running and just snowball from there.
I have to apologize to you because you did call it correctly. Maybe that lane swap wasn't the right one to play for. Hot Dog now taking that last little grub, saying it might be all over for 3, and it will allow the push to be a little bit faster. Granted, no one's had a clean push. Fiji is not exactly in that row, but get started. Those Voidlings are going to be a giant pain in the backside. This time around, though, Hope and Scooter finding Fiji here on the bot side. No one swapped out, so it is not good enough facing off in the 1v2. And we'll see how the play angle goes, as right now it's about 500 gold between the two teams.
So here's the thing. I actually do think it's better, or Cumberland can utilize the grubs better. But as I say that, hold up.
No.
It's okay. Hope has to burn flash, but he lives. The big question is if Hot Dog decides to go recank that bot lane at some point, then that might be an issue. Broadcoma is still down there as well. I don't know. I mean, they could look to dive the Cassante. He just went all out.
Well, they do, but that rotation coming in from Retrozing as well as Hot Dog say no, we can't do it. So they back away. Huge topside battle, though, is not good enough. Yes, you heal innately, but Suki and Heaven's Grace, given the breadth and opportunity, they will show that this is the OG bully lane, is the best way I call it. This is the lane that will force any melee or short-range ADC away from the battlefield.
Hot Dog?
Bot side, though, we're seeing Hot Dog say, I can gank this one. Coling chewing through a decent amount of HP, but a nice play will only slow the inevitable. Cleanse is out. Can you get one more Q off? Last auto was available, and you do pick it up. Meanwhile, on the top side, we see a kill go down, as that was not good enough, falling on the top side. Fiji, though, dancing away from a possible extra as you unstoppable and force Broadcoma underneath the tower. And that's enough to force Broadcoma away, as honestly, Cumberland Phoenix take a decent top and bot side victory.
Overall, is it okay to hope that Cumberland, they are here to play and that their mechanics are going to show across all the lanes? We had the thought. We dared to dream on that top side play initially when Cumberland found the slightest of edges, but this time, those side edges just showed across the map. We were just talking about the fact that Fiji burning the flash in Hope 1 means gank, potentially kill, and topside, Suki and Heaven's Grace getting the kill onto not good enough as well. They're starting to run away a little bit with this, and let's not forget the 3 grubs, because what I did want to point out too was that Cumberland can make much better use of it with the Caitlyn. Caitlyn's actually really good at sieging because of her range, and that means that it's easy for her to proc those grub, the extra damage, as well as generate those voidlings. So if Cumberland gets small leads, they can very quickly snowball that into plates, which means a bigger lead, which means potentially turrets, which means even bigger lead, and maybe that means they can win mid-game team fights.
I think it helps as well, the fact that we talked about Suki having a little bit of a struggle in game 1 with positioning factor, and this time it's, I mean, you're always going to be staying behind. You're always going to make sure that your positioning is in a proper form. You're going to be in a good spot to be able to fight these out, especially with that 2-1-1 factor. You had that collector in hand. So I like, even further on, that we're seeing kind of these mistakes that were made in games 1 and 2 being shored up in a heavy fashion. And I really do appreciate that, because it shows that, again, for Cumberland Phoenix, they're always willing to learn. They're a squad that I believe we were talking about fairly fresh, as we were mentioning. This is a squad that just kind of put together a team, but they said they want to compete with the best. And if you're showing adaptability this quickly, hey, that's step number 1 done.
Yeah. I mean, while a lot of these players individually have a lot of experience in terms of being in this team, they are definitely new and trying to get together. Suki with the flash away, even with the black shield. You know, that's what the teething pains that you get with, you know, players getting used to each other, learning to trust each other a little bit more, and Converse able to exploit that to get themselves a dragon.
Yeah, it just hurts to see, because that was like a flash used like walking up to the tower, and I was just praising Suki for the positioning, and then you lose Flash in that fashion. It's like, oh dang, I'm sorry, man. But goes back to it. Good dragon taken down. I'm done glazing either Cumberland, Phoenix, or CBU. We're gonna get back into this game, which is a binding being landed. Is it gonna be the two-piece combo? Yes, it is. Scooter eats a lot of damage, but not enough to warrant an all-in. Suki and Heaven's Grace just pushing up the mid lane.
Heaven's Grace with the first item Rylai's as well for supports.
Colin going out here, though. And Hope 1, I think, was trying to set up for Broad Coma, who walked on top of Ward, said no dice. Does have Flash, though, so that Curse of Sad Mummy can come from just any side and angle. Duckman, though, cleaning out this top side, forcing Fiji away from a potential first tower.
Okay, so the Rylai's that I do want to talk about, because the Tormented Soul is slowing down Hope and Scooter, and that's what's allowing Suki to get so much of this extra poke down and really dominate that matchup. I love it. As well, we look at Converse, and Converse are not out of it by any means. They're only 2,000 gold down. We've literally seen that differential made up multiple times this series. And Retro Zing has Flash. He should be fine, unless he overstays, which is a him problem. He actually ends up burning his ultimate instead of the Flash. Okay, I respect that. But yeah, for Converse, the way they get back into this game is team fighting, right? And they need a bit of time to scale up. Duckman has opted for the Rod of Ages, and because of that, they're starting to fall behind a little bit.
I like that step up, though. Heaven's Grace starting off with the strong chains. The shackles hold the souls, and Duckman can do nothing. You try and flash away to safety, but the rest of the team is here, and that's how you get out with your life. It's a great hold in denial as Scooter, yet again, this time on the Nami, saves their mid lane.
And so clutch for Converse as well, because they get the kill and they're able to rotate straight to Herald. If they just get the kill alone, it's not worth. Because you can see Suki and RetroZing just pushing and pushing right now. Hope onto Suki, but yeah, I don't think you can actually catch the Caitlyn solo. You need a little bit of help. First brick going the way of Cumberland.
You'd also need the, I usually think you're looking at the culling, right? The culling is what you're really hoping for, but no, not good enough as well. 2 seconds behind, but there it is. Oh? That was a straight up 1v1, it looks like, as Suki going down, burned the barrier as well, but Scooter, who was looking to help Hope, is now going to get caught out into nobody abound because Broadcoma was focused on the Herald. That entire exchange came out of left field, it felt like.
Yeah, and on top of that, overall, it wasn't a 1v1. It was a 1v2. Because I think it was Heaven's Grace who actually picked up the kill onto Hope 1 there. So Hope 1 in that situation, still walking away with the extra kill. Cumberland able to answer back at the end, but yeah, you can see Hope 1, sort of the last light, it almost was like for Converse in game 2. He was the guy who was stepping up when everything was starting to fall apart, when the rest of the team couldn't make the plays. His Kai'Sa kept them in. It feels like he's still in that mindset, you know, like with the Lucian, where he's like, I have to make this work. I have to go in and take those risky plays. And I don't actually know if he needs to do that necessarily this game, when he's got Duckman to scale up, when not good enough, is kind of doing pretty well in the side lane split push pressure point.
I think at this point it's more of an ego factor. It's like, dude, I did it games 1 and 2. I got to do it for game 3 as well. Like, you pick the Lucian early, R1. You got to have a good time on it, and also maybe a little bit of aggression. Maybe you don't like the Lucian Caitlyn matchup. You just want to punish Suki for picking it. Either way, you're 3-3-1. You're doing quite well for yourself, sure. And you light up Suki, who now has no barrier for the upcoming dragon, in about a minute. This can be utilized. This can be a way to do it. However, not good enough. This is a wild call as you get that annihilation. Hope 1 dashing over to enemy territory, but you get stuck on a trap. Well, call not good enough. Wasn't able to help out. A binding over the wall as Heaven's Grace predicts. Broadcoma tries to help out
the Black Shield.
Mummy, but things are going from bad to worse here. Duckman blast going out of the way, but guess who else is caught? Scooter tried to help the rest of the team, but they are flash right in between. But because RetroZing couldn't get over the wall, it will be gifted to either Fiji or Hot Dog. And Cumberland Phoenix get revenge for their ADC.
Just as we were talking about how Hope 1 seems to feel the need to make the play happen. Hold up, Broadcoma. Okay, he's fine. I'm legit a little bit worried that Hot Dog could just kill him. Duckman?
Duckman, though, saying, I could kill one or a few. Heaven's Grace tried to use the Hextech Gate to get out, but Duckman recognizes that, hey, Hot Dog is the one that actually got to be worried about. Another bandage shots, though, but because the rest of the Avengers are here, Cumberland Phoenix win yet another battle, this time to save their support and jungler.
We went from face-offs and team fights in game 1 to slow play and backdoors in game 2 to straight up just carnage here in game 3. The teams are throwing themselves at each other. And Orbital, for Converse, it looks like a really questionable call for them to throw it in. But they actually end up getting strategic advantage from that because Cumberland couldn't go for Dragon. They're actually currently forced off. Now, Converse is scared to start this one up, to be fair. But the fact that they actually get Prio around this area might equalize things a little bit. Whether or not they can get the pick is the big question. Hope One actually going back to base and coming back out. Oh, but yeah, Cumberland not able to take advantage of that.
They aren't, but they are still looking for it. A quick Scryers saw the ward down on the bot side, but wasn't cleared, meaning Cumberland Phoenix still have the ability to close on in on this Dragon if they so wish. They're going to start it up immediately because they can't let CVU dictate the pacing. 3 in the mid lane for CVU. We're still watching Not Good Enough and Fiji kind of gently duke it out here. So for all the time and phase, as you called it, Cumberland Phoenix, they made time with that aggressive play. Yes, they weren't able to get more kills in enemy side jungle, but they were able to collect the Dragon, which, in my opinion, is one of the most important ones. It is a Hextech soul to play for, which is a massive boon in terms of running down your opponent and getting extra auto attacks out.
Yeah, I don't feel like Converse really gained anything from actually pushing out Cumberland in the initial bit. It's only 1 Dragon for Cumberland, so it's not the end of the rope by any means for Converse, but it is a little bit worrying. The other thing that's worrying about Converse so far is that we've yet to see them actually properly team fight. Broad Coma hasn't been able to kind of get in there, layer his Curse of the Sad Mummy with the tidal wave from Scooter, and Duckmane, again, Rod of Ages hasn't completed yet, so he's kind of still waiting for his first major item to really complete and pop off.
Herald being dropped in the mid lane, but it feels kind of bad. Quick charge in, no tower break. Is being used because it had to be. The timer was running out. CVU back in the way, and we get a breath. For a moment, RMC, we get to take stock of what has gone on, which is still, again, Cumberland Phoenix feeling pretty dang good and kind of deciding where they want to go from here.
Yeah, Cumberland still have quite a few options. We mentioned sort of the siege strength of Caitlyn and the fact that they got the early grubs. They only got the mid outer turret, so top outer and bot outer are very low on health. As you can see, top side's a sneeze away from going down, so that's a lot of standing gold for Cumberland, who already have sort of a gold advantage. Whereas for CVU, this period is just them looking to kind of skill up and survive the lanes. I don't know if they can actually defend these turrets, but it looks like they might be trying to use it as bait. They know this top side's almost going to go down, so they're kind of daring Heaven's Grace and Suki and Hot Dog to maybe go for a dive.
Oh, and Hot Dog actually swept out that tri-brush, recognizing that there were 2 or more in the brush. Really neat usage of that Scryers. It's not always used that way, but it's one of those happenstance moments where you're like, okay, that actually worked for us. You divert away from that top side that you just mentioned CVU were aiming for, which now results in Cumberland Phoenix picking up the free gold.
Yeah, and that turret matters a lot, not just because of free gold, but also in terms of access to the Atacon on the top side of the map right now, which feels like the NECC's big objective for these teams to kind of be fighting over. Even as I say that, I'm fully aware that Vision has largely lapsed in the area. Cumberland are just walking away. But, I mean, it's 3 minutes still. 3 and change for Baron, and just under 3 for Dragon at this point. So, I do feel like the teams could potentially just sneak away this Atacon, especially if they can catch anybody overextending on this top side when both outer turrets on the top lane are gone.
Not only that, when you take a look at the Hextech gates, they tend to push, pacing of getting to those objectives a little bit faster. So your sneak attempt, call 100% could happen. However, the sneak attempt is actually coming from the fact that Duckman is now getting routed on this top side. We mentioned before that Cumberland Phoenix love to look at these plays, and they're going to try and do it once again. However, it's a party in the top side. Double TPs coming in here. Will be the Garen plus Fiji, and having a ball and a half, not good enough, forces away Heaven's Grace, but the main piece is Duckman. Duckman goes down. That is going to be the ace of the whole body block, but the rest of the team coming in here. Between Worlds gets Retrosing straight to the backside, and Broad Coma burns the Curse of the Sad Mummy for nothing, it feels like. And CVU scatter, leaving Cumberland Phoenix to do as they wish.
But with the Hex Gates, as you called them, bro, the fact that teams can so quickly get from base back to the objective, yeah, Cumberland, they kind of just trade 1 for 1 when all is said and done, and some critical huge ultimates coming through from both sides. That tidal wave from Scooter really saved Converse from just absolutely getting wiped in those choke points. And for the side of Cumberland as well, their ability to just kind of collapse in very, very quickly. You trade a support for a mid lane, worth it almost every single time. It's just that this time, it doesn't result in anything. The death time is just too short, and hex gates just make the map too small.
Not only that, I mean, Broad Coma, that felt like a really good time to be able to get that Curse of Sad Money, get 3 or 4 members, and you burn it on the retreat. I think you were trying to catch RetroZing. We need to see that ultimate used in an offensive manner in tandem with what you called as Scooter's amazing tidal waves. Mid lane is now the focus, though. So right now that bubble is going to be sidestep. Suki just trying to get in the way, but it's not going to happen. Broad Coma running on the side lanes. To help out here, but that binding is not going to land. Rest of the team scattering in. Remember that Riley's is good. Another Between the Worlds as Scooter gets annihilated. Sushi is on the menu tonight as a Cyclone spins away. Chaos Storm does nothing as Duck, well actually it does do something, but it's still going to be a massive win as the binding equals a triple for Suki and the rest of Cumberland Phoenix.
4 for 2, absolutely worth. And Cumberland knew they were stronger after that last fight. They really felt the strength of it, and knowing that, hey, this time Scooter just not available to use the tidal wave. I think it actually just came up during that fight. So they just kind of brute force that, and with the corrupt strength, with the siege strength of Caitlyn, they're just absolutely ripping these turrets. If they're ballsy, okay, I was going to say they could potentially stay to get some chip damage on that inhibitor as well. But no, they want to go back because Dragon is up, and I think that is the right call. That is the better call, though Broad Coma is going to make a straight beeline for that Dragon.
And not only that, give a huge round of applause to RetroZing, who jumped in with the Between Worlds, now 6-0-4, and might have a chance to show off once again. A massive force to be reckoned with. Good chunk to come out here. Bandage toss not going to land once again. We mentioned that RetroZing needed a little bit more priority. Yes, you weren't given everything in the world, but this time having a massive influence on this game alone. RMC, this Dragon is going to get dicey.
Suki stepping up, the Black Shield being used for now not available and not good enough, just keeps on chasing. Fiji finally arrives, but Dragon is getting melted in the back end.
And honestly, RetroZing wants to be able to TP back, needs the mana to be able to battle. And down to about 5k though, so CBE recognize that this might be their only opportunity. Hot Dog though with the Black Shield turning into the cycle once again, but doesn't get much as the Curse of Sad Money is answered this time in Broad Coma. Holds on, but guess what? The Dragon resets yet again. You called it before. Cumberland Phoenix had done it before. And they do slow down the pace. Not good enough in the enemy back lines. In goes RetroZing though, saying I can dance between the worlds and between the battlefield, but there's only so much space that you can take, as that is going to be the chance in the back line. Broad Coma facing their life around and saying, I sacrifice my life for the team. But the binding lands just in time as Heaven's Grace is right in the mix. The Soul Shackles does enough work. Fiji is alive. RetroZing still around. And they dance around the entire space as Scooter can't get to their ADC.
They're so low.
Everyone is on low HP. There's the heals to come through. My God, what is this game? Hope Wand ready with the extra exchange. What a bubble, but you can't get RetroZing all the way through. And that Scooter to be taken low. Another binding lands. Hope is denied. They're dancing on the absolute edge of their seat, and finally they go down. Cumberland Phoenix win the messiest team fight of a minute and a half that I have ever seen.
It's absolute carnage, Orbital, and you love to see it. Again, dancing on a knife's edge. Hope One and Scooter, they could have recalled. They could have said enough is enough. But no, they went for the kills instead. And frankly, they dodged almost everything. The fact that it was a 3v2 and they got it that low was absolutely insane. But Cumberland, they just keep winning out on these knife's edge trades. And you were talking about RetroZing. Let's talk about RetroZing. 11-0-4 right now. The highest kill participation, actually, pardon me. Sorry, that's Heaven's Grace, the highest. But RetroZing, second highest. And the way he's been dancing through these fights. And like you said, he didn't get resources. He didn't get Hot Dog camping his lane. He got counterpick, and he ran with that advantage, and now he is the single biggest threat for CVU, but not the only one. So they can't focus everything on him and ignore Hot Dog, ignore Suki. They're so distracted with all the different threats that they are not able to lock down the very slippery RetroZing, who is still the biggest threat.
25 stacks on the Magi's will only continue to climb in their back of the mines. Rabadon's completed here as well. Bloodletter, everything that you could ever ask for. And CVU, once again in this position of, we can scale with the victor, but are we gonna have enough time? Not good enough. Has been able to dance fairly well in the 1v1 against Fiji, but Fiji has gotten to the point where you're staying alive for a very long time. We mentioned it before, even in that last team fight, Fiji was also a threat in their own of being this giant meatball in front. So it is scary. CVU running out of options here as Cumberland Phoenix still looking up to the top side.
Oh.
What is happening here? We come back. Hope is like 1 HP as RetroZing decided to jump in with a flash on top of his head, and looks like Hope 1 just got bailed out by Scooter and Broad Coma.
And it looks like Ace in the Hole was used as well as RetroZing and kind of almost caught out Hope 1 there. Burning the flash could be critical for the next fight. And is that Atakan finally being done? Yes, it is.
Hey.
And that's just off the flash being burned from Hope 1.
Not only that, it's taken in a somewhat comfortable fashion, but it is spotted out here. I've been wrong before in a lot of my calls and a lot of the kills and a lot of the deaths. Is it going to happen here? He coming in. It is going to be a jump in. Broad Coma, what a seal! Broad Coma! Curse of the Sad Mummy to not only seal the Otacon, but seal 2 lives as well! Don't step to the mummy himself!
That's insane. And the build from Broad Coma as well is the sort of grenade build. There's a lot of AP there. It wasn't working up till this moment, but my goodness, when it works, it works. Heaven Grace is as good as dead. And now 2v5. Can they stop this
What
Baron?
is this swing?
No,
what
Brock
is this
Coma
swing? What is this swing? RetroZing
RetroZing.
trying to do what they can, but they still lose out on their life. They lose the stacks. They give the gold. RMC, Converse have found their golden egg. I don't even care if not good enough dies here. It don't matter because CVU got Otacon.
But they didn't get Baron.
True,
and that was what they're going for. So on one hand, this game is insane. And we want it back and forth. We are getting back and forth. Broad Coma just forcing his way in and stealing away the Otacon. And now Cumberland, in a 2v5 situation, actually manages to stall out the Baron, getting kills on the back end. So what should have been a, what was it, a 3-for-1 initially ends up being a 3-for-3, actually.
I hate everything. It's like...
I love everything.
I know, like I wanted this back and forth, but it's making it so chaotic to watch because like overall we see these pieces of the pie fall through because again, them getting Otacon, they weren't supposed to get anything. You know, Cumberland Phoenix were on that Otacon, they were ready to go, and then it was an answer. It's like, at this point, I don't know. Like, I know you laid it out for me, RMC, but I'm still sitting there like, it doesn't even matter at this point. It's going to come down to the next, like, 5 minutes. Dragon in a minute and a half. Baron is obviously up. It's all about who is faster on that trigger of the micro mechanics. These teams have played against each other so often, and they're showing it here that they will battle tooth and nail to get that series victory.
Yeah, and for Broad Coma as well, that feels like it was the first time he really managed to get that critical Curse of the Sad Mummy onto a lot of critical targets. But that was when they were distracted by doing Otacon. And frankly, Cumberland Phoenix's attention were split between how do we stop them getting in as well as the objective. RetroZing is not good enough. This is not a good matchup for RetroZing.
No, RetroZing having to dance away and only went forward with the fact that Fiji was in the vicinity, but then recognize that, hey, the rest of the team is also around here. You can see the ideas and the posturing coming out as wards are being swept in place in very quick succession. Everyone getting ready for this dragon, which once again could be a high price to pay because whoever gets this one is going to place themselves on Soul's Point.
Yeah, and for Converse, it's also an opportunity for them. As we said, up to this point, Broadcom has been struggling to find critical engages, but the Dragon Pit's another place where Cumberland might be distracted, splitting their attention between objective versus team fight, and that's another opportunity for Broadcom to find the fights, because on open ground, Cumberland's been very good at splitting up and avoiding both their carries getting caught. Heck, avoiding any of their carries getting caught, because Heaven's Grace has been spot on with those Black Shields.
They really have, and at this point, I don't know what's going on. I just saw the rotation coming in here. Broad Coma sees all 5 members, though, inside that range, but Hunter for Tsuki, which was just a little bit further out of range, but because you don't have the flash, it makes sense. You need that target. Of course, Stuckman saying, I can reach Tsuki just fine. Give me a second. But Hot Dog says, I can catch you even faster. I can. It is going to be Curse Sound Money, but it's only going to slow them down. But slowing down is all you need. A well-timed catch as Hot Dog is eaten and chopped up and spit out into the trash. Fiji now bubbled up. Black Shield a little bit too late. That catch is massive, though, as now CVU, as long as they don't get battled on, have a chance to take this dragon.
And look, I see the angle Hot Dog saw, but the peel was good. RetroZing.
RetroZing, though, saying, I'm still very strong, dancing between two. Double TP to the ends of the world. Yields results and more. Scooter chase on the far end of the map. Hope denied as well. And yet again, Cumberland Phoenix find a way to fight back.
Seen this before though, Orbital. These 3v4s, it looks bad for the 3, but we've seen them pounce back in Duckman with the laser after laser.
They're going to try and go for it. The execution doesn't work. Fiji survives.
One for
only
one.
for a mite more. Hope is unleashed in the back line. Retrozing is out of mana.
They did it again!
But they still get the kills. Triple for Hope 1. It is only the mid laners to survive.
Bro, script writers, we need new material. Once again, the 3v4 and in a numbers disadvantage. Converse able to equalize once again. However, who is alive matters because Duckman lives, but he's a mid laner, not a jungler, and starting up the dragon's kind of iffy. Hot Dog respawned for Cumberland, and that's a jungler. So Cumberland, after all said and done, should be able to pick up Soul Point now. Can Converse answer back with Baron?
You're gonna look at it. It is gonna be pinged out as well as Cumberland Phoenix. They didn't lose as much HP doing it that time. They aren't gonna fully challenge. They say, look, there is no hope. There is no not good enough. They don't think that it would be risked at this current moment. But we need to breathe and take stock of what has just gone down. As you mentioned, Hot Dog was able to get the dragon. We are looking at a triple, possible quadruple Hextech dragon into Soul. It could be massive. Retrozing back out on the map now at 5 completed items. And that last battle alone went from 25 stacks to 15 to 17 back up to 25. We are getting to that breakpoint of Cumberland and CVU throwing down like they did in game number 1.
Also on the verge of, this Caitlyn kind of coming out of her power trough and becoming a massive team fight monster as well. If she picks up something like the Hurricane, for example, she'll be doing tons of work. And if we do see a Hextech Soul go the way of Cumberland, it's going to be really tough for Converse, because what Converse has been doing very effectively is actually disengaging, weirdly enough. Their comp wants to go in, but they're struggling to find the engage. But they've also been able to disengage from Hot Dog. So it feels like for both these teams, whoever goes in first often actually ends up losing the opening moments of the fight. Now, if Hextech Soul goes over, especially to the side of Cumberland, it's very easy for Caitlyn to apply that slow, and that makes it much easier and much less dangerous for Hot Dog to find the engages. The inverse is not completely true for Converse because they don't have a lot of range poke. Maybe the culling as an engage tool, that could be a thing.
Jesus. Retrozing saying, I don't need slows or anything like that. I will give you a hurrah and hello. And Duckman and Broad Coma are like, I don't want to be here anymore. Retrozing has also done this. Yeah, oh no, and they've done this before. As Retrozing finds the catch. RMC, we harped on Retrozing not getting too much value in game number 1. Game number 2 stepped up. Game number 3 is a highlight member. Screw the Baron, screw everything else. TP in. Cumberland Phoenix are looking like the victors as they're chasing down the base.
Broad Coma, Scooter, they're alive. The AoE CC is there, but there's no damage to follow up, and they're looking to end this one. Not good enough. Throwing his body in there as the tank, just trying to clear that wave.
It's not going to be cleared. It doesn't matter. They're tanking this all day long. I don't know what they're even waiting for. There we go. Fiji's in the middle. Cumberland Phoenix in a mini reverse sweep are looking for the victory. A late last minute Curse of the Sad Mummy only heralds their demise. Low HP on either end though is not good enough. It's trying to hang on, but the inhibitor is down. The Nexus is gone. And that is GG. Mini reverse sweep as Cumberland Phoenix take the series.
Huge props to Cumberland and Retrozing. I spoke to Retrozing in advance of the game, to ask him some information as well. And he told me, oh, we got this. It's going to be a clean 2-0. You lied, Retro, but you know what? I'm fine with it because you fully stacked your Medjais. You went, what was that, 18-1-7 by the end of it? That Aurora game was absolutely amazing. And Orbital, Cumberland, look, they are a new team. They have not gelled together. They are looking to improve throughout this season, and they already look nutty. Like, this Div 1 looks really, really fun right now. And for Converse as well, Converse might have lost, but they lost by inches. Like, they are incredibly competitive. They said that their goal this split was to stay competitively viable. I would say they're kind of already there at the starting line. Like, they do look good right from the get-go, and this really could have swung either way.
Quite honestly, if you can make me as tongue-tied as possible in the fact that not good enough was like, I can almost shred through the opponent and save our Nexus. Like, I had like a 10% hope, and it scared me. Like, 10%. 10% hope at the end, and you make me trip my words. That is how wild it felt this entire series was, and I appreciate it. I have no other wishes on how to start the NECC League of Legends split in a way like this. 3-game banger, a rivalry of sorts that might continue in the rest of the season. RMC, I gotta ask you, who do you feel is the MVP of this series? Because so many people stepped up to bat.
Oh, that's a hard one. When every single game I feel like somebody different from Cumberland definitely popped off and did a lot of work. So I'm gonna go cop-out answer and say Yem, their manager, coach, who put the team together. Fantastic job with the scouting for now. We'll get more MVPs when we get more games from them, because I have very little doubt that we're going to see Cumberland, in the playoffs the way they're playing. If they continue improving, they're going to do fantastic things. So we'll definitely see them there. And maybe then when we get to see a best of 5, maybe then I'll be able to actually pick one out of all the carries that this team has.
You know what? That's 100% fair. We cop out all day long because there are more weeks to follow and so many more people on the mic that'll be joining us here. The NECC is just getting started, and not only that, week 1 is not over. Tomorrow, I believe, will be Overwatch 2, same place, maybe not the same time, a little bit earlier in the day depending on where the matches are, so make sure to stay tuned to all the socials as well. NECC Games on the X, and make sure to check out when all those matches will occur. We'll also see you in the following weeks as we have 6 more amazing weeks to follow through before playoffs. Thank you so much for tuning in to the League of Legends side of things. My name is Orbital. With me has been Random Minion Caster. We had Rare Adam on the production and Chippy on that observation. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great night.